So, new day, new dawn. Time to constantly read. Are you ready? Because I don't think I am. So, you might have seen a couple of days have passed. A lot of those maybe were just to get pictures for thumbnails. Some of them, though, were so I could finish Louie's side mission. Because I, decided why not. He had a couple, but the last one here has a special reward. I know what it is already. I had to get him a Sovereign Bulb Blacks for a 3-course meal. Other ones were fine. I got a little confused about like one of the locations because I think it was close. Like there was something that had a similar name. Not really a big deal. Just go through all the layers of the world. Now that I have the ingredients I need, you can have this extra hand. Thank you very much, Louie. A Sovereign Bulb Blacks feast for supper. It's gonna be a good night. Thank you, Louie. I like this planet. I want to show it to Nana someday. What do you have to say to Oatchi? Yeah, bigger dogs are better. I wonder if I can ride this one too. Look at those eyes! I love Louie's eyes. Look at him. He loves it. I wonder if I could have, like, immediately switched to President... What's his name? I'm getting distracted because I don't want to read. Anyways... What we got... Not you. No, Oatchi. I'm the one. I'm gonna do... Nope. Oatchi. Please. Okay. Oatchi, can I, like... Nope. Don't want to talk to Dingo. Nope. Leave me alone, Dingo. I don't care. Can I... disband Oatchi? Alright. I'm going to do it. I can only carry... as much as one Pikmin can. But now... Now the player character can be more useful compared to Oatchi. I can do some things. I think this is also a lot slower than a single Pikmin would be able to do. Maybe it's roughly the same length of time. I didn't even realize this is what we ended up making. Okay, we're gonna have a winged friend with us while we read. Oatchi, you can come with us too. I thought Moss reacted, and I thought that would have been kind of neat. But again, getting distracted. What Piklopedia, I guess, would be the shortest one to start with. Oh, actually no. I'm gonna get even more distracted. I said I wasn't going to read the I wasn't gonna read the, like, Captain Diary and Sheperd family, but the voyage log for Olimar has some extra stuff, and I realized Louie also has one. I didn't really see all of Louie's, but the first one made me really want to read Louie's, so we're gonna read these first. Not all of Olimar's. At a certain point, they're not tutorials, and they're actually just general Olimar stuff. That's when we'll start reading. I don't remember where it was. When it stops describing Pikmins. And their songs, and the Flarlicks, and the Fusion, and the same colored onions, and the Candy Pop, and the Ultra Spice, and the Nectar. I think someday, eventually, we'll get to something. And these are all just the caves. We'll get somewhere. Probably should have kept track of the number. Now all Moss lessons. Some of the objects I call treasures seem to be more complex than their initial appears. It makes me wonder who made these and where are they. I don't sense their presence here at all. But I suppose they could be hiding in the shadows, secretly watching me. I don't know if that was part of it, but I'm going to continue. I keep coming across ruins of some sort, rings made of stones. I've been using them as a base to land on, and the more I think about it, they seem to be designed exactly for that purpose. Could it be a coincidence? I'd like to know who made them in the first place. Nintendo. See, and then we get to poison oxygen. Atmosphere on this planet contains large amounts of poisonous oxygen. I doubt that my spacesuit's life support system can hold out for more than a few days now. Maybe if I had a leaf, like moss or the Pikmin. What a silly thought. Wouldn't that be crazy, Olimar? I was so hungry earlier that I mistook a Pikmin for a pick carrot and almost bit right into it. The Pikmin are friendly to me right now, but who knows how long our relationship will last. I quickly apologized to the terrified Pikmin and gave it a hug. Aw, that's sweet, Olimar. Can you imagine fearing for your life that Olimar might eat you one day? This area is blooming with radiant blossoms. I recall how in the spring I would go for a stroll just to enjoy the flowers in my neighborhood on planet Hokotate. Imagining my dog frolicking underneath the falling petals seems to put my troubled mind at ease. And then, see, there's a nice picture of his family, so I was like, I gotta read these. Under a setting sun, I've played catch with my son and comforted my daughter as she fretted over the growing darkness. It's where I first fell in love with my wife's smile. I'm sorry. I guess not just the setting sun with his children. I thought he was saying it like, oh, I love my children so much, and now, at this moment with my children, maybe my wife's smile is okay. But no, that's okay. It's a separate sunset. Before I first fell in love with my wife's smile, long ago, the twilight of this planet brings back distant memories of Hokotate. Bad dreams. Look at the president sweating up a storm. And Louie's just eating a carrot. Last night I dreamt that one of my subordinates made a terrible mistake to put the company in a huge amount of debt. Too big for Hokotate Freight to pay back quickly. This is why I never take on debt. Anyway, when I woke up, I burst into a fit of laughter. Pikmin 2 confirmed to all be a dream, just like Mario. It's, again, weird to, like, uncanonize other games. It just seems like unnecessary. I don't get it. Happy holidays. My wife loves my cooking. Whenever I whip something up in an effort to do something special, she asks me, why can't you do this every day? Not just for the holidays. I always take it as a compliment. I really miss those days. Simpler times. Look, he put a Pikmin in a stew and a bread bug on a plate. His daughter went into a Joker phase. Though I find myself stranded here, I knew my daughter must be getting lovelier by the day. It's a terrible shame that I can't be there to see her grow up. Of course, if I was there now, I'm sure she'd just brush me off and yell, "Go away, Dad!" Is that why they retcon the other Pikmin games? Just so they didn't have to make his, like, family grow up without him? Again, time frames aren't necessary. For my son someday. My son constantly picks up bugs and animals, and my wife always scolds me for it. Him for it. But I'd like him to pursue his interests and treasure his curiosity for living things. If I showed him the notes I've made about the creatures here, I'm sure his eyes would light up. Thank you, Pikmin. It is very strange, the scenery of this planet, which I once found hostile, now sometimes strikes me as surprisingly serene. Perhaps I owe this feeling of peace to the Pikmin and our friendship. I wonder if these Pikmin are waiting for me to arrive. We're waiting for me to arrive. On this planet, they are a weak species, but if they're trying to use the power of an alien brain to climb to the top of the natural order, I have to wonder if it isn't me who is being used by them. I had a horrific dream last night. After I met my doom facing off against a creature, the Pikmin carried me back to their onion. I've often thought that we might share a powerful bond, but perhaps that was only wishful thinking. Oh god, because they're just gonna eat ya. I'm so very tired. Last push. That seems like a weird place to put that, because I would assume that was after the crash. At long last, my goal to collect no. Did we? I think we heard about this one, the last push. If only I had kept the new on these. At long last, my goal to collect the lost SS Dolphin parts is nearly complete. According to the ship's radar, the remaining pieces are inside a giant structure. My life support system is reaching its limits. One last push now. So close to fully repairing the SS Dolphin, the remaining parts should be somewhere inside the giant structure that I've never seen before. It's as if the rules of logic that I've come to understand may not apply here. I have to explore carefully now. When I arrived in the area, the Pikmin started acting quite strange. They flew out of the onion and immediately hid. Can't find my spaceship parts without them. I suppose I'd just keep looking for them and can call them back using my whistle. I noticed that there are several items labeled with a strange code strewn about this area. I'm not quite sure what they are to be used for, but I should take thorough notes in case it becomes obvious later. Weird that the people that lived in this house would still make their safe code after that, but found a bunker inside this building. Thankfully, the entrance has a lock, so unwanted creatures won't be able to get in. I can rest easy now, knowing that I have a safe place to go if I get stranded here on this planet. Moss has been guarding the outside of the bunker for me while I rest. She's also been gathering up Pikmin, though it's unclear where she'd find them, and we heard about that in an SOS was the beginning of the game. Now let's see what unhinged stuff Louie has to say, because that's what I'm really interested in. I'm supposed to find Olimar, boss's orders. Don't really remember what he looks like. Great start. Same picture that Olimar had. These thingies remind me a lot of Pik carrots. I'd eat them, but then who'd carry my snacks? Wish I had a golden Pik carrot to eat right now. Got sick of Nana's cookies, so I tried eating some of the creatures around here. They're pretty yummy. Put them right there on the stove and everything. If you don't hurry up and eat these, they turn hard in the ground. As soon as I spot one, I dig it up and grill it. That's like so big to grill, Louie. You're wasting all of that, probably. The stories Olimar told were always boring, but he never got too angry when I messed up, still drawing a blank on his face. Saw something sort of Olimar shaped. It was pretty shaggy and seemed happy enough. I'll leave it alone for now. I'd like to ride that green dog thing it had with it. So, is this like a new lore with Louie? Is that he just wants to ride anything that he can? That's why he became king of the bugs in a dream. Mostly been focusing on snacks lately. Guess I'll just make something up when I report to the boss. Is he forgetting what the boss looked like? I wonder if that's a, new model of the boss, or if that's just a picture from Pikmin 2. It looks very glossy. It makes me think it's just a picture from Pikmin 2. A green dog thing came up to me. It could be the one I saw with that Olimar-ish creature. Must have been abandoned. Guess I'll keep it. Don't want to eat it, Louie? Tried some of that green juice the things by the hearth were drinking. Tastes really yummy. Makes my head and tummy feel all warm and cozy. Marinated. They snack menu. That's Louie for you. Marinated lipstick, clog, croquets with cream sauce, roasted leg and miso shells, soy pickled eyeballs. Thinking of Nana. What is that on the ground? I can pick all the fresh mushrooms. Oh, that's a dead mushroom. I can pick all the fresh mushrooms I want here. I'll save some for Nana to try once I go home. These are okay. I didn't realize these were the zones. I was gonna say, what else does he have to say about the Pikmin getting gunned down, but it's not related. The mud pit, subterranean, huge dog thing. Spotted a huge dog thing in the mushroom forest. I like the one I have now, but that one looks more fun. Guess I'll follow it. And dog thing's den, cavern of kings. My favorite thing in all of space to eat, but hard to come by. If I did find some, I'd devour them all in my heart's content. I'll just wait for the right delivery job. I never did it because it required doing like the bonus missions. But in Pikmin 2, if you did like, I think got gold or platinum in all of the missions, you get like a bonus video of Louie's dangerous deeds, and that's why the debt happened. All these creatures are fantastic, aren't they? Yep, they sure are. I can't wait. Sure thing. So now that we got that out of the way, I think, yeah, we'll just, we'll go between the two on each one. 125 of these. How many? Wait. I'm still taking a minute. 125 plus 239. So, I'm gonna die. But I need to do it. Sure thing. Let's get it done. I'm getting distracted. Hopefully, I'm hoping Louie's will be short, because it's just like, I like cooking. Olimar is gonna get a little extra with us, so I see. Although initially identified as a juvenile bulborb, groundbreaking new research indicates that this creature is in fact a member of the breadbug family, close relative of breadbug. It escaped predation through mimicry. Unique adaptations of the bulborb's crimson coloration allows the species to safely commingle. Such effective adaptation and obfuscation by a prey species is rare, indicating this clever creature is a master of mimicry. For a blissful bisque, mince the entire beast finely and stir in with heavy cream, artichoke heart, and a pinch of black pepper. Heat slowly until piping hot, rich and creamy. I'm already starting off strong, being able to read. A bulb orb larva after its first molt. Due to its pale coloration, it was assumed to be a mimic when it was first discovered. It was later confirmed to be a true dwarf bulborb. To avoid predation from adult bulborbs, it spends the majority of the daytime hours hiding underground. It becomes more active at night when its paler coloration is more difficult to see. In this state, it is difficult to discern what species of bulborb any given juvenile may be by appearance alone. It's only after a bulborb's second molt that they start to display more distinguished species characteristics. I guess that makes sense why we've never seen them above ground except for at nighttime. Peel off the skin starting at the tail end, then slice thinly and boil in a pot of heavily salted water. Serve immediately. See, I feel like that was exactly what Louie had to say about that stuff in Pikmin 2. In which case, I almost wish I could just throw that over the video and just pretend that I reread it. This large organism has the familiar mandibles and cranial morphology of the grub dog family, as well as characteristic bulging eyes. As with most grub dogs, the creature's cranium comprises half of its total length and girth. Showing a scarlet abdomen with white spots, this creature is primarily nocturnal, choosing to prey upon smaller creatures returning to their nests. Originally classified as a spotty bulborb, always weird to me this like originally classified thing when we've just discovered this planet technically. Originally classified as a spotty bulborb, further research has reclassified the species as a basic bulborb. Subspecies of varied colors have recently been discovered, but academics are divided into two rival camps over how to handle their classification. Plump specimens are best split roasted whole, stuffed with a lime and a slab of baking. Based frequently to ensure magnificently moist haunch. Jumbo bulborb. During reproduction after an egg is fertilized by a sperm. Wow. I guess technically it is a scientific term, but I'm almost surprised that Nintendo would allow that. Any excess chromosomes are usually discarded through a process called meiosis. But occasionally this process fails to occur and a bulborb individual will develop irregularly due to chromosomal abnormality. That's like... okay. Specimens like the one are stronger than the average bulborb and can exhibit more aggressive behavior. However, they are not able to procreate as they will never reach sexual maturity. Well, like, God, Jumbo bulborb is like... okay. That's a really weird take on it. It's a large creature, but the meat is tender and flavorful. It's impossible to eat in one sitting, so store some portions for later. Coat the fattier meat in cooking oil and freeze leaner cuts should be smoked. I wish, in hindsight, that Dreamhouse, which was supposed to be like Louie's base, had just a bunch of corpses lying around, you know, for eating later. It could have been a freezer, would have been great. This meager creature offers little meat, but its eyeballs are a local delicacy. What does that mean, Louie? Local delicacy? Try them with okra and a dollop of sour cream. Like, that's a whole other thing to unpack there. Because, like, what local? Are you feeding people here? The, like, survivors that we saved? Initial observations placed doubt on this the capability of the grub dog family to support a strong ant or bee-like social structure. Now I have more questions. Do you guys have ants and bees in Hokatade? Recent studies show the family is capable of such complexity for brief periods when certain external parameters are met. The egg sac of the largest female grub dog within a given range swells to dramatic proportions in response to environmental changes, such as the sudden depletion of prey species. These females temporarily take on the role of pack matriarch. Also in pack formation, it has been observed that nearly all males not involved in species reproduction undergo natural sex changes. The characteristics of such specimens are quite intriguing indeed. All males not involved in species reproduction. Huh. For sophisticated delicacy, make a pâte de foie gras on this massively obese creature's liver and spread it over a sesame cracker. I would imagine you could probably just eat it like a Lion King when they get the bugs, because it looks juicy. The largest member of the grub dog family is normally found burrowed underground. You are lying if you think this is the largest one, Olimar, you lying piece of... This camouflage allows the predator to surprise small creatures and use its long adhesive tongue to capture prey. The thick hide and angular hump gives the organism a distinct rock-like quality. During the rainy season, moss grows freely on its hump, making it nearly impossible to distinguish this lethal predator from a stone. To prep the tongue for cooking, marinate in olive oil and chop into cubes. Stir in a pot with carrots, potatoes, and chives, cover, and simmer over a low heat for several hours. Accompany this mouth-watering rustic stew with a hearty roll. An emperor bald-blacks of extremely advanced age. It will no longer display the pack behavior commonly exhibited by younger members of its species. Instead, as an individual ages, it leaves the herd and exhibits more solitary behavior. It feeds by using its strongly developed legs to leap upon and crush its prey, with speed disproportionate to its massive body. To determine the age of any given specimen, you can count the rings of hide calcified in the form of a carapace. I was going to joke about counting the rings like a tree, but I guess that's accurate. One ring forms roughly every year the creature lives. How do you know this information? Individuals with over 100 age rings have been discovered so far. The sovereign bald-blacks' back is often covered in moss and pteridophytes. On a few occasions, specimens have been found with a rare species of mushroom called a bulboral growing on its back. For a light appetizer, pluck the ferns off its back and lightly cook to remove any astringent flavor. The tongue, eyes, lips, meat, and fat are very tasty and can be prepared in a variety of ways. Mature specimens have a more highly developed umami flavor. So, I've made the executive decision to not read all of these. Instead, we'll read about, like, bosses and then maybe a select few. I'll read through all of them and just find the ones that I maybe find interesting. I do want to see what Louie has to say about, like, the Pikmin. But, yeah, there's a lot, and it's mostly just, like, Olimar being very scientific, and then Louie talking about cooking, which are things that are cool, but there's so much of it. So we'll start with you. This is around where I left off. I kind of gave up around this point and made my decision. Males of the species are known for their horn-like blowholes. When females reach maturity, their blowholes close and they lose the ability to launch rocks. At the start of breeding season, the females lay eggs on rocks launched by a male. The rocks then become food for the growing larvae. Though once mistaken for adults, armored cannon beetles. Okay. The species is actually a naturalized non-native species that migrates here from another continent. The horned cannon beetle can breed with adult armored cannon beetles, but only about half of the eggs will actually hatch. The hybrid species has the potential to seriously pollute the gene pool. Furthermore, it exhibits aggressive territorial behavior, sometimes launching boulders at young armored cannon beetles, which has driven the latter species to a verge of extinction. See, like, that's cool, but then doesn't really make sense with the rest of the game's not really happening. Drop into boiling water and let it cook until the shell turns red. Remove from the pot and peel, sprinkle drained meat. So, like, this is saying that, like, categorizing this in Pikmin 1, which didn't happen because this is kind of retconning Pikmin 1, that they were wrong, and this is something else. I don't know, it's weird. I think it's weird. Upon reaching maturity, the blowhole on its head closes, leaving it in its place the pointed crest of the Arctic cannon beetle's shell. Oh, okay. I just read that stupid. Don't worry about it. In order to get enough food in nutrient-deficient environments, adult specimens start breathing through their mouths. Some experts have posited that this adaptation caused the species to lose territorial competition with the armored cannon larvae, driving it into colder environments. Though the beetle has increased suction strength, it must ventilate via a spiracle in its abdomen and open its shell to avoid rapid body inflation. Don't like that word, body inflation. More of a phrase than a word, but I still don't like it. Boil the meaty legs until fully cooked, then drizzle with a generous amount of lemon juice. Once the juice has seeped its way into the muscle fibers, suck the meat out of the shell with one big slurp. I'm also not gonna do the big versions of these guys. They don't seem that interesting besides just saying that they are big. We've got a bunch of long legs. If you lie down and look... Oh, that's the wrong person. I've already read yours. A shaggy long leg that has lost its hair. It has similarities to the beady long leg. See, were these, like, written before the retcon happened? Or was this, like, taken verbatim from Pikmin 3? It has similarities to the beady long legs, but it doesn't secrete wax from its exoskeleton and thus lacks its cousin's unique patterning. The absence of wax also allows small insects to climb its legs without slipping. We never fought a beady in Pikmin 3, right? Is this just an explanation as to why Pikmin didn't climb in Pikmin 1 or 2? Its central orb splits horizontally, but researchers have yet to determine the significance of this difference. Not as tasty as it looks, completely inedible. I feel like that's what he said before about it. Although the meat is a bit on the metallic side, the oil makes a mouth-watering gravy or lubricant. Okay, I don't remember if that was what he said in Pikmin 2. The species of the Arachnorb family fuses with machinery at a crucial point in the maturation process, giving it an ability to fire energy bursts from a launcher beneath its orbicular torso. Don't want to call it a gun, huh? However, the man-at legs itself is not in control of this weapon. Instead, the mechanical portions of its structure appears to automatically acquire and attack targets. Man-at-legs has a gentle disposition, and as a member of the Arachnorb family, it has no natural enemies. It is particularly difficult to understand why the species would develop such awesome offensive capabilities, leading to rumors among the scientific community that it was the machinery that approached the Arachnorb and proposed a symbiotic relationship. That's a little spooky, isn't it? Is that what made the groovy long legs? The species has some remaining organic internal organs, but its carapace and eyes are made up of inorganic material. All 19 of its eyes are actually photoelectric sensors that the species uses to precisely locate its prey. The gas emitted from the posterior of its first leg joints include a chemical substance that, after making contact with another organism's brain, temporarily controls that organism's actions. The groovy long legs uses this natural phenomenon called the endless dance to make its prey jump between its legs while it moves around in bizarre rhythms. The entire interaction is seemingly odd for a living organism, but the line between organic and inorganic on this planet is not always clear. That was everything, right? I assumed. Yeah. Creature is mostly tendon, so it often gets stuck in your teeth, smells like burnt plastic or possibly metal. Cool. I'm surprised we didn't refight the snowflake flutter tail in the final dungeon. Or groovy long legs, honestly. The cooling cycle on its body uses ammonia as a refrigerant to chill the moisture it absorbs from the air until it reaches a subcooled state, by then spraying it out of the several vents on its belly. Did it have vents on its belly? The snowflake flutter tail creates a delicate cocoon out of ice to both protect itself and freeze its prey. Its rolled up spirally proboscis evolved from an upper jaw and can catch and tie up prey with the fine hairs on its surface. Though it mimics a type of swallowtail butterfly, this creature is actually more closely related to moths. One might extrapolate that its ancient ancestors were unable to adapt to the cooling climate and therefore went extinct. Dice finely or puree to make a needy sorbet. Add a tiny drizzle of fruit sauce for some punch. Pluck the wings and antenna beforehand to use as a garnish if you want to get fancy. Yeah, Louie likes getting fancy. Breadbug, I think like both have kind of similar. They're more interesting for Louie's sake, but we're looking at the wrong thing. Breadbugs are hardy and nutritional, but also bland and unimaginative. So, same kind of thing. Gargantuan species of the greater breadbug family has a torso so perfectly square that it almost seems like it was formed in a mold. For a brief period after birth, the giant bread bug competes for food with smaller bread bugs, but upon reaching maturity, it seeks out much larger prey. This is the primary reason two species with similar feeding habits can coexist in the same habitat. Hordes of Pikmin appear to pose the only plausible threat to this massive creature's life. Nothing else wants to just chomp into it. Not the dog. Although cooking, this colossal beast yields a mountain of meat. Every ounce of it is flavorless, only suitable for intergalactic all-you-can-eat buffets. Big boy. Look at him. I love him. Also, press the wrong button. The ore-like growth on its back is a coagulated bodily fluid that includes a substance similar to Sparklium, which can make our mechanical sensors go berserk. To use the technical term, this living ore emits a scent that lures the creature's prey, so it's also important for their feeding process. The lantern-like organ atop its head emits electromagnetic waves that are known to affect Pikmin and onions, confusing them into thinking the Gildamander is their leader, allowing it to withdraw Pikmin directly from the onion. Wow, okay. I guess that is the explanation as to why the beginning of the game happened. However, it cannot go so far as to command them as a squad, so the Pikmin will often hide under cover and are able to avoid ingestion. What a weird thing to, like, have at the beginning of the game. Like, why did the Pikmin run out? Were they spooked? No, it's just Gildamander can apparently do that. Even though we only ever face it in a cave and the one time in Olimar's journey. Meat gives off a faint aroma similar to a hot pepper. The flavor itself is subtle and elegant. Char-grill the lantern until blackened, and you've got a nutritional superfood. Like, it's just such a, like, I don't know, normal enemy to be like, oh, this caused... What, did you have something to say, Gildamander? I don't know, it just is weird. I think I said it before when Olimar implied it before. The long nose on this specimen has neither bone nor cartilage, but is made up entirely of muscle and can be flexibly curved and extended. Soft hide consists of densely layered collagen lattices. Whatever, we'll move on. I have way more to read that cover almost its entire body, leaving only the regular skin on the belly exposed. The fully developed trunk is large and quite heavy, so the mammoth snoot whacker usually rolls it inward to carry it closer to the center of gravity. But if its territory is invaded, it will extend the trunk and flail it around, even using it to strike perceived enemies. Just like a juvenile snoot whacker, their nose comprises a disproportional amount of their body weight, resulting in poor balance. If attacked from behind or from the side, even an adult of the species is easily knocked over. So I wonder if just getting my Pikmin to attack a side would have caused the smaller ones to topple. Because I only tried to attack them without a dog in Olimar's journey, and I had to use an item. And I can't imagine an item is required, but who knows. The bitter flavor faded as they grow, replaced by a sweet, mellow aroma. Stew the base of the trunk, grill the middle, or smoke the tip. The possibilities are endless. This guy. If you take the microorganism... nope, wrong person. A member of the Gulix family, this primitive life form is made up of a single cell, which is quite odd given its size. The nucleus is shaped like a bulbous star, and individuals move by using the fin at the end of its flagellum-like tail to quickly expand and contract its gelatinous body. If the nucleus is removed, its soft body loses all structure and splatters, but as long as the nucleus is still alive, the Fulix can return to its original form. Usually, the Fulix will mimic nectar and wait for its prey. Its gel, which includes fire-extinguishing fluids, will then expand to capture and feed on unsuspecting organisms. Gently remove the jellied parts, add fruit and a sweetener of your choice, then serve as a gelatin dessert. I read Olimar's thing on this, and I would like to show you what I found. Due to a common phenomenon known as imprinting, this baby will recognize anything that it sees or hears within a given length of time after it hatches as its parent, and consequently follow it around. So, was I mistaken for killing these poor guys when they came out of their eggs? However, the downy Snagra has two specific conditions for imprinting. The first is that the target must be tall and blue, and the second is related to the sound of its cry. This means that it will never make a mistake with something as small as we are, and will instead recognize it or us as food. Since it's still a fledgling downy snaglet does not go underground to feed, instead it stays on the surface where there is plenty of food. Looks harmless enough, but beware, its parents may be hiding nearby until the baby is old enough to fend for itself. Grind up that meat and cartilage, then mold into meatballs. The tender texture of the meat contrasts nicely with the crunchy, chewy cartilage bits. Yeah, that's good. Slice the serpentine torso into thin medallions, skewer on a metal rod with hokkatare onions, and barbecue over an open flame. Again, that sounds like what he had for Pikmin 2, but my memory could be shoddy. The majority of snaglet species lie in wait to ambush and capture prey, with the body type perfectly adapted to such sudden strikes. It violently attacks small surface-dwelling insects. Distributed across a relatively wide range, subspecies of snaglet suited to the varying soil conditions have emerged, making snaglet the most geographically represented species besides the bulborb. Even though we've only seen the two, not counting the, the crested snaglet that was in, 2? I don't think he showed up in 3, did he? Visually resembling the burrowing snaglet is the burrowing snarrow, the range of which partially overlaps with the snaglet's range. While the two may appear similar, when pulled from the ground, they can be distinguished by the presence or absence of tail and wing markings. I don't want to talk about Waddle. Let's talk about mushroom people. Look at him. He's beautiful. Type of ambulofungus. The current working theory is that the puffstool evolved from a more common species of fungus that gained animal-like characteristics over time, including the ability to walk. When it senses danger, it will scatter spores from under its cap, releasing a hallucinogen that confuses its attackers. The hallucinogenic compound in the spore is only effective against the species' natural enemy, the Pikmin, causing them to mistake it for the leader. Pikmin who fall into the trap are then used as workers to maintain nutrition or defenses for the puffstool. Again, I liked when it did the Pikmin turned into little mushroom zombies. That was cool. It's a shame that they didn't want to do that. Flip upside down and cook cap over charcoal grill, low and slow. Once it starts to sweat, it's ready to eat. Bury underground for about 40 days so the poison can leach out. Its smell will make you gag, but the flavor has notes of chocolate. Much like the puffstool, the toadstool is neither animal nor fungus, but a mix of the two, or an ambulofungus. It doesn't serve a producer or consumer role in the ecosystem, but functions instead as a decomposer. It primarily parasitizes, I guess, other living organisms by blanketing them with its spores. However, the toadstool can infect a deceased specimen as well. Its half-eye is able to move the muscles and control the body as if bringing it back from the dead. Necrostool. They should have called it Necrostool. The way the fungal filaments grow differ based on the host organism. In some cases, they may cause the host to wander around in search of food to facilitate a more nutrient-rich fungal culture medium. They can also just use the host as a means to scatter more spores. He seems ruder than this one. We'll talk about you, Mamuta. I like Mamuta. The imbalanced asymmetrical arms of the Mamuta are among its most notable features. Feeding on seeds and fruit, the Mamuta is known to actually sow and grow plant species. While other species have exhibited seed-burying behavior for the purpose of storage, the Mamuta is the only species so far known to actually cultivate fields of plants. Inedible, tastes like chicken. I love that chicken is inedible. Like, it's good. This guy. First boss of the game, baby. Its needles-covered armor is soft and quite exposed. Furthermore, it has a cowardly disposition. So when it senses even the slightest danger, it shoots out its spikes. Regenerating new spikes requires significant amounts of caloric energy, so this creature requires a significant amount of food. This likely explains why, when it scrounges through garbage, it sucks up not just the insects it finds, but also the trash itself. They have ingested a few of the SS Dolphin parts too, but those could never be mistaken for trash. That seems weird. We definitely fought enough enemies that do drop parts, right? I guess the Porquillian did always have something every time we fought one, I think. Cut the meat into 4 even slices, dip slices into a beaten egg, then dredge in breadcrumbs. Fry over low heat. I mean, I know, like, a puffy blowhog had some parts. I wanna yeah, I guess we're kind of going full boss fight here now. Like its cousin, the hermit crawmad, it makes its home in a burrow rather than a shell. It has abnormally overdeveloped eyes with which to detect prey in cloudy water or low visibility mud. These enormous eyes can perceive circular polarized light, as well as the ultraviolet and infrared spectrum. Again, it's a mantis shrimp. It is well protected from predators, allowing it to live for upward of 50 years and grow to immense size by repeated ecdysis. When grilled, serve as an excellent filling for an offbeat poi boy. If you have any left over, add it to a liver paste to deepen the flavor. With a red carapace... wrong person. Body is covered in a hard carapace. Imagine if I read the whole thing. You know there's a good chance I wouldn't even remember that this is what they were saying. Did I've read this before? I mean, its body is covered in a hard carapace, and it has an extremely ferocious personality. It spreads its sharp-fanged jaws to catch its prey. I feel like its weird legs being able to hook Pikmin is the bigger issue. The crested rumpup suffers from poor vision, but it uses the fine hairs on the lower part of its tail and the ball-shaped sensor organ as its tip to detect faint quasi-electrostatic fields emitted by other organisms. In short, it has other ways to sense its predators and preys. It's like Daredevil! The tip of the tail tastes almost fruity, with notes of sweet and sour. Pairs well with soft, ripened cheese. And it made a silly noise at me. This bad boy. All that is known about this creature stem from a few sightings deep underground. All reported sightings feature the same core set of details. Giant vicious form from a clear hazy sheen, not unlike hard candy. One theory holds that it may be the ectoplasmic incarnation of a kind of psychic phenomenon, but as it usually is the case with such theories, it is very difficult to prove. All witnesses report being suddenly overcome with fear upon sighting the creature approaching a state of panic and near insanity. In fact, every report contains an inordinate amount of extremely vague details, which has led to suspicions that exhaustion and fear have caused some simple natural phenomenon to be viewed as a living creature. An edible known to cause mass hysteria, followed by leg spasms and internal thundering. I think that's similar to what Louie said before. Maybe I misunderstood it, but I thought in Pikmin 2 it was implied that eating it caused all that stuff. Egg tastes best when smoked. That's why it's the smoky prog. Flavor of its belly and the head is pleasantly warming. Smoky Prog's body is constantly deteriorating, so collecting a living sample has proven difficult, and research into the species has progressed at glacial rate. I like how it immediately goes after the luminol, but I think I said that last time. However, by examining the genes adhered to the Smoky Prog's eggs, it has been confirmed that they are, in fact, Mamuta eggs! This discovery allows for the possibility that Mamuta that do not develop properly and hatch become Smoky Progs. Was like the Mamuta relation... I feel like I've heard that as a fan theory kind of thing. That's interesting. If hypothetically a Mamuta were to remain above ground at night and absorb glow sap, that might impact the nutrition levels within its egg's yolk. That change could lead to the embryo's inviability or break down its enzymes. Then maybe it turned into a weird goo guy. Weird. Alright, big dog. It takes a minute to load because I kind of just stuck there for a bit. I also didn't mean to go on that one, but if we harvest mesenchymal stem cells from this gigantic canine creature and cultivate them with glow sap, the generated serum should return Oatchi's leafified tail to normal once administered. These results would indicate that 99.9% of the canine's creature's DNA matches Oatchi's, and that the only difference between Oatchi and Moss may be the natural absence of leaf tail. or absence. If these two theories prove to be true, it would suggest the possibility that this ancient creature is a common ancestor to two canine species from vastly remote star systems, in that, perhaps, there are even more hidden secrets out there that could hint at a fascinating yet unconceivable truth the universe has yet to reveal. The ultimate ride. Plush and comfortable. I wish I could bring it home with me. You can, it's not a leafling. You should have brought it with you. Convenient for procuring ingredients, compact with a tight turning radius. I like Louie describing them as cars. As far as I can tell, Moss has been a leafling pup since birth, and some of her DNA resembles that of a Pikmin. This is the one point in which she differs from Oatchi. When Oatchi transformed from a standard space dog into a leafling pup, I started to theorize that the Pikmin are, in some capacity, propagating their DNA in other organisms. The phenomenon in which all those castaways, including myself, became leaflings was very likely caused by being absorbed into the onion. Perhaps that process was also some sort of Pikminification of the body. Pikminified organisms can't leave this planet, so the Pikmin may have been motivated to carry out this process in an effort to secure a permanent leader. Of course, this is all a game theory. Look at Moss doing Moss things. I'm gonna say no to Olimar's notes here, but I am curious about Louie's. Looks like a pick carrot. I bet it tastes good, but I'm practicing self-restraint. Good job, Louie. I'm proud of you. There's like a non-0% chance that he actively did eat one though, right? Like in secret. When I look at it, all I see is ears. Good job, Louie. I look at that mouth and want to put my hand in it just to see what would happen. I guess I do too now, Louie. What would happen? I think it would just, like, choke it out, probably. I think I broke a tooth on one of these. Again, non-0% chance that he didn't try. I once had a dream that I was abducted by a wooden specimen. It's like an alien, like a UFO. A kitchen essential used for freezing ingredients and storing leftovers. Not meant to be ingested, best used as bait. Very heavy. Tenderizing the meat would be way too difficult. If you look closely, you'll see its legs are sprouting a dense layer of hair. Okay. Saute in oil to add a fragrant spice to your dish, but eat too much and you'll smell like it for days. Way too spicy for salad, no matter what color bud you use. On a quest for the perfect, and see, like, none of these are as interesting, except for that one. Doesn't smell alive. Okay, what do you have to say, Olimar? Although they've been named glow Pikmin, it's not entirely clear whether or not this species is actually a type of Pikmin. These creatures possess the same fundamental behaviors of Pikmin, like carrying things, propagating, and fighting. They also share special characteristics, such as the leaf atop their head, yet they do not spawn from an onion, but a luminol. And they are only active at night or underground. During the day, they revert into seeds and enter a resting state. What's even more surprising is that they exhibit no signs of life. When a glow Pikmin dies, if that word can be used, it does not expire in the typical sense. Instead, it just becomes a form of light, or perhaps a photon, and returns to the luminol. Putting aside my scientist hat for a moment, it seems to me that this creature or entity may not be a living organism at all, but some manner of spiritual substance. Yeah, that makes sense. That's the fact that they serve as incubators and nests for glow Pikmin. We know very little about the luminol's ecology. When nocturnal creatures die, a luminol can break them down into glow pellets to the strong dissolving enzymes. This matter, when condensed, becomes glow sap. One might assume glow sap is one extremely dangerous substance, but it is hardly any negative effects. In fact, I've had it administered to me personally as a curative medicine to break down growing leaves. I am now radioactive though. Luminols will only appear in places where the onion was located early in the day, and since they propagate glow Pikmin, one could surmise that they are rhizomes from those onions. That's interesting. I've never really considered that, like, connection. Perhaps using its dissolving powers, it returns the nectar that supports the ecosystem back to the soil. It smells a lot like an onion. The green juice is particularly delicious. Doesn't smell alive. Okay. So, considering that was as far as I was going to go with reading those, And I might double check to see if there's anything fun. I am, gonna probably do the same thing with the treasure catalog, because that is also incredibly long. I apologize for not reading it all, but there's so much to read. Season with salt and pepper. I didn't really see anything that seemed interesting here. However, the treasure log seems like they are shorter descriptions. I might try to read through all of those, in particular because I think Olimar will talk about his family, and I think it's heckin' wholesome for Olimar to talk about his family sometimes. First time I laid eyes on this treasure, I thought it was a giant aquatic monster. Took me a few paralyzing seconds to realize that it's just a statue. What a relief. Such an attractive creature were to attack me, I'd be too entranced to run away. Olimar's gonna cheat on his wife with a duck? This thing is huge. It will take a whole day to eat it in its entirety. Is that all Louie's gonna have to say about these things? Still not sure if it's edible. Also not sure if something can taste as handsome as it looks. It has well-proportioned facial features and a smooth exterior. It's weren't these called like ugly in Pikmin 2? Facial features and a smooth exterior. Its hollow interior allows it to float on water. Thought long and hard about what creature inspired this treasure, and before I knew it, I was petting its beak. I'm powerless to the face of cuteness. Compared to the other treasures found, this sculpture is tiny. Yet with its beak turned courageously upward and its round eyes brimming with the spirit of adventure, can't help but admire its gallant image. Beauty really can be found around any corner. This seems like the right portion size for me. I like this color. It gives off a chill aura. When I was a kid, I coveted a black leather jacket that hung in a shop window. It was so cool, I begged my parents to buy it for me, but they just scoffed in my face, so I saved up my pocket change for months and finally bought it myself. Turns out, wearing a leather jacket during the peak of a Hokutate summer is a shortcut to getting a heat stroke. That was the last time I ever tried to be cool. Gigantic, brightly colored stick of candy adorned with a ribbon. My guess is that it was meant to be a gift for a child. It would be a great souvenir to bring back to my own kids. I'll need to keep a close eye on the spaceship's temperature to prevent its melting during transportation. Licking it is fun, but it tastes much better if you bite right into it. It's near impossible to eat this without losing a drop of cream in the process, a challenge I gladly accept. Here this item was discovered in a bright and open area, unlike other caves I've encountered. What's more, it was presented on a large silver plate. Wonder why it was there. Is it a form of entertainment for visiting guests? Or maybe we are the guests. Oh, Olimar, what are you talking about? It's sweet, but not too sweet. Salty, but not overly so. Tastes like something a more refined palate would appreciate. Perhaps belonging to someone whose tastes are developed over the course of many years. A crunchy and uncomplicated treat. If the missing part is out there somewhere, I will find it, and I will kill it, and I will eat it, and then I will eat it too. Stealing a bite of food before it's been served is quite rude, but I understand the impulse. My son and I are always waiting outside the kitchen, itching to try whatever my wife's been cooking. Thankfully, she finds it charming, or we'd have to curtail the habit. The pattern always reminds me of our family game nights. We like to play board games, but it would be even more enjoyable if we could eat the board after. I was curious to know if the flavor was as playful as the design, so I took a bite. Tastes normal. It's like an optical illusion. I keep alternating bites by color. Would I ever make it to the last morsel? There's something about this flavor that makes it impossible to stop eating. Not that I've tried very hard. I thought you were practicing restraint, Louie. Sweets don't simply disappear of their own accord. There has to be some sort of scientific explanation. To test my theory, I've laid out the cookies and am waiting. Normally, I'd have given into the urge to eat them, but I must stay strong. Before we got married, my wife took a compatibility test to assess our relationship. It was all for a laugh, but we got 120%, indicating we would be eternally happy together. I don't really believe in all that fortune-telling stuff. Well, that test got it right. Oh, that's so sweet, Olimar. There's only one way to eat this. First lick up the jam, then eat the buttery petals until all that remains are crumbs, then eat the crumbs. Okay, Louie. Olimar's being sweet over here and you're just scaring me, honestly. If you break it in half first, it's much easier to eat. In my line of work, encountering tough situations and feeling like your life is in danger is all part of the job, but something about this cookie makes me feel like I have the strength to make it through, like I have an extra heart if my first one runs out. Children are fascinated by jiggling objects like this. I know my kids would lose their minds if they encountered this gelatinous tower. I consider myself a mature adult, and even I'm fighting the urge to climb to the top of this jiggling hill. The creamy base is delectable, but alternate each bite with the brown topping for a more savory experience. Very filling. I love you, Louie. If only all of these were this short. At our wedding, our friends gave me, my wife and me, a spaceship-shaped cake that looked a lot like this one. It wasn't as big, but it resonated with my dreams of exploring space. Of course, my dreams are slightly different now. I'm happy I still have my wife by my side. One whiff of this bright brings me back to the long day of summer, eating ice cream with my kids. The fragrance smells like their favorite flavor, bright and refreshing. At first I didn't want to try it, but my children insisted. Now it's my favorite ice cream flavor too. A strange way to serve toothpaste. Louie, you always know what to say. The touch of bitterness makes it that much easier to eat. My wife and I have been together for a long while, but our relationship has never been as perfectly poised as this cake. Maybe it's because I'm always flying around space and she's at home trying to keep things together. We really are due for a date night. Well, I mean, it's been 2 months, Olimar. 2 months. Maybe go on that date. It's common practice to present an expensive gift to your intended when you propose. I didn't have the means to do so when my wife and I became engaged, and I've always regretted that fact, but at least I still love her as much as I did then. I slept myself right under the metal archway and took a nice cozy nap. Good one, Louie. Loving it. I bet this would bring in the big bucks. You're right, Louie. He knows what's up. Apparently, if you can jump over this, you'll be blessed with great wealth. I'm not the superstitious type, but I'm tempted to give it a try. I could use the extra cash. The only thing standing in my way are my poor middle-aged hip joints. It's I would love, since Illumination did such a great job with the Mario movie, for them to make a Pikmin movie, and all it is just Olimar meeting his wife. And you never see any Pikmin. It just ends with him going to do a job, and then he crash lands, and that's the end, and the after credits is when the Pikmin show up. It's a multi-sensory art experience. You've got the flicker of the flame, the texture of the body, and that glorious scent that just melts into your surroundings. It's so soothing and calming. I'm getting a little bit sleepy here. It's just a little sleep I set it on fire and it melted. It smells yummy, but unfortunately, it's ineditable. This would be a great gift for Nana. She could use something shiny. My daughter loves shiny jewels and trinkets for as long as I can remember. She used to be happy enough with pretty stones and pieces of sea glass, but now all she wants are the more illustrious items like this. That doesn't bode well for my wallet's future. Olimar, always with your wallet and your wife, and your kids, and debt. This gemstone is large but looks kinda cheap. I've only just started to accept that one day someone might propose to my own daughter with a gift like this. I know I should probably give that person a warm welcome, but I already don't like them. I'm pretty sure this jewel is a fake. Didn't try to lick it, Louie? Stepped inside a circle and spun it all around me. It's hula hoops. I read somewhere that some colors can have certain effects on your body. This color seems to calm my mind and help me recover my composure when I'm feeling frazzled in the field. It has an almost healing effect. That's why it's the Hoop of Healing. Didn't you read the title, Olimar? Science of colors intrigues me. For example, I can feel my instincts sharpen and my zest for life intensify when I gaze upon this hue. What would happen if I were to walk through this ring with my wife? Perhaps its power could reignite the spark between us. Seems viable for a ring toss. Maybe walking through it brings you good luck. People tend to gather with those who are like-minded, and eventually they become friends and partners. If you want to build a circle of good friends, you must be the kind of person whose company you enjoy. Then you find companionship with yourself as well. That's lovely thinking, Olimar, but your companion is someone that didn't even remember what your face looked like. I'm no longer trying to catch anyone's eye, but as the sole breadwinner, I need to prioritize my health so I can support my family for years to come. The problem is, I'm so busy supporting them, there's not a lot of time left for push-ups. We'll see how it all turns out. Apparently, I should be able to lift this pretty easily, but I gave up after my first try. I like to imagine I'm petting a soft little green creature. That's oddly wholesome for Louie. He didn't want to just eat the green creature. Growing up, I wasn't one for chasing balls or shedding tears over a win or a loss, but my passions were equally absorbing. I wonder why this giant fuzzy sphere has me thinking of more youthful days and what they were like for the inhabitants of this planet. Its hard outer shell could withstand severe environments, but the inside appears to be unexpectedly soft. The geological layers are breathtaking. If I had to guess, I'd say this is a scale model of a celestial body. I just can't explain why I want to hit it with my stick. A stick. Hold it tightly between your arms and roll. Feels amazing. I can smell the salty remnants of sweat and tears on this thing from a mile away. I can verify... I don't even know what to say, Louie. I can verify that there are indeed 108 stitches on this ball. I counted them myself. The process took me all night to complete. As an explorer, it's important to question things in order to survive, but I should be careful not to overdo it. I honestly do really love how unhinged Louie is. When I hear the sound this makes, the word paycheck immediately comes to mind. I would think of the word ka-ching, am I right? It's followed quickly by the image of my wife's face and her voice reciting our monthly household budget in full. Food, tuition, medical bills, the list goes on and on and on, and what a pleasant rattling sound. I could listen to it all day. I can't help but wonder why this isn't a rice cracker. To be Louie. Whenever I hear a joyful song, I'm transported back to family celebrations with live music and dancing. I see my family, all dressed to the nines, looking at me with silly expressions on their faces. I hope to witness that again one day soon. A few years ago, my wife suspected I had betrayed her in some way or another, and was furious at me. Oh, Olimar cheated on his wife, confirmed. She was so enraged, she could have turned the whole world upside down. It was terrifying yet comforting to know I still ignited such passion with her. Getting angry is a good way to spur your appetite. Suddenly, I miss Nana, and I'm overcome by all these sad feelings. Aw, poor Louie. What is the purpose of emotions? They give your life meaning and balance. One could not survive a life of pure sorrow, so we must find delight in things. A life of pleasure would become monotonous, so we should appreciate the bad as much as the good. I may not be the most graceful dancer, but who really cares? I like to let the music take over and allow my body to go with the flow. Sometimes my wife and I will be freestyle. I know it's like freestyle dancing, and it looks like so much fun the kids forget to be embarrassed and can't help but join in. But I'd like to imagine they just start like freestyle rapping, beatboxing, anything like that. Riding dogs is fun. That is amusing, Louie. The first time I was licked by a dog, I thought it was gonna eat me. I thought for a second that he was licking the dog because he wanted to eat the dog. My son is a known prankster and likes to catch my wife and me by surprise. One time he leapt out from behind a garden gnome and said, "Prankcha, gotcha, trickcha," and my wife jumped so high in surprise that she threw out her back. Since then, we've established a strict household no surprises policy. How many times have I heard my family complain about a jar that won't open or a door that won't open? And there I am saying, just run it under hot water or push, don't pull. However, I've tried both on this bag and it literally cannot be opened. It's impossible. If I had to guess, there's something really valuable hidden inside. Proved very useful when I stuck it in the ground to make a spot I wished to return to. When a flower blooms on a dead tree is nothing short of a phenomenon. I've also witnessed flowers bloom on a Pikmin's head after they drink nectar. I suspect that this stick shares the same rejuvenating property exhibited by other life forms on this planet. This one time, when I was a kid, my parents had a big fight and refused to speak to each other. And then I listened to Everclear and said, man, just want everything to be wonderful again. I went back and forth meditating and till the argument was resolved. I'd like to say it was for the sake of their love, but I was just tired of waiting for dinner. That sounds like a Louie thing. Could be useful for plating food. The holes might be a problem, but otherwise it's perfect. I think this might be money. Hopefully I'll be able to collect some more. Found that this planet is riddled with underground caverns and passageways. I love to explore this place, but it feels like I'm in constant danger of falling into a hole. This lid must have been used to warn previous inhabitants of nearby pitfalls. There's a lot of just buttons. Although I don't know if those are buttons too or like something else. They look like buttons. I'd equip this underside of this raft with a floats so that it hovers above the water surface, making it possible to sail it without sinking. Then I'd plug the holes with magnifying lenses so I could peer underwater safely. The more I lick it, the tastier it gets. Good job, Louie. Spikes give it that extra little something. I bet this dog was a comfy form of transport. Louie, you were riding that dog. I shouldn't be mad at Louie. The lovely patina on this piece is evidence of a deep bond between the dog and its companion. A dog never truly forgets their owner, and an owner will remember their dog for life. Eternal truth such as this transcends all times and galaxies. That is very cute and sentimental, and I appreciate it. We have like 10 of these. Hopefully Louie doesn't have much to say about each piece. The vastness of space and the unknown it contains is an unsolvable puzzle. At the start of each voyage, I set out to unravel every mystery and discover great truths, but I always find myself returning with more questions than answers. Nana always told me you should build something from the outside in. That's good. That's a good work, Nana. Reminds me of the meal I had once. Now I'm drooling. At Hokatare Freight, we often divide up our cargo in order to use the ship's space more efficiently. Big companies have huge transporters to fill up, but that also means a lot less flexibility. They're still filling up their gigantic ships while we're out making deliveries. Tell yourself that, Olimar. Aren't you guys like the only employees there? As a boy, I would spend days drawing elaborate treasure maps. The buried treasures may have been junk to most, but to me it was precious. Is this a fragment of a treasure map? I doubt it, but the subject of this drawing was probably a treasure to the artist. Soup. At least it looks like soup. Wouldn't want to hit your head on an edge as sharp as this. Okay, Louie. I understand the instinct to hide something precious to you. I thought the word protect is probably more apt, I don't know where thought came from. Though the word protect is probably more apt, I feel similarly about my family. I do everything in my power to give them a safe, happy life. It's a simple desire, but it motivates me to carry on. This looks just like the kind of picture you get when you let a kid play with the camera. Blurry and too close up to see anything. I deleted all those pictures my kids took to free up memory space, but now I wish I hadn't. Imperfect memories can be the most precious. I'm getting strong chocolate vibes. Louie, I think, is onto something, honestly. Have you tried eating it? It might be chocolate. Reminds me of a dog. I'd like to take it for a ride. I love the new lore of Louie just wanting to ride dogs. And maybe bugs? He could be a bug king. This makes me think of my dog, Bulby, back at home. I'm away for work quite a bit, so we've gone long periods without seeing each other. Yet every time I come home, he treats me as if I've never left. He may be the wisest and most loving member of the family. If you love your dog so much, why don't you marry him? This unknown organism bears a strong resemblance to the dogs on my planet. I'm amazed that such a similar species could exist in this far reaches of outer space. I've heard that organic components can travel through space on meteorites and comets. Could there be a connection between my planet and this one? Looks a lot like a dog. I'm not sure how comfortable it would be to ride. It's the same dog. It's the same dog, Louie. No idea what that is. It is definitely inedible. You don't know, Louie? He probably did try, honestly. He might know. As a young boy, I collected rocks and shiny objects that I held quite dear. My parents always wanted me to get rid of them, but I refused. Can't even remember where I found them all. I probably picked up most of them right in our own backyard. I'm still not sure why I was so attached to a bunch of gravel, but they shone like diamonds to me. As a child, there were many times I'd come across something unknown. A lot of these are giving more child descriptions for Olimar. So, you know, new lore, Olimar had a childhood, and Louie likes riding dogs. As a child, there were many times I'd come across something unknown to me and intuitively investigate without hesitation. It worked out well for me, I believe. As an adult, I often overthink matters, so maybe I need to recapture that daring spirit of my youth. Licking it, but it didn't get a lot of flavor. Licked it, but didn't get a lot of flavor. Guess it's not a cracker. We're still on puzzles. I fit my head into one of the little openings. Felt better than expected. Why are things the way they are? Yeah, like Louie. The answer can be surprisingly simple. For example, my kid will often dismantle a clock or a chair, or tear up a piece of bread just because they can. Maybe there's no significant reason that this picture is in pieces either. That little bump at the end makes this look like it has a nose. Makes me think of my son when he was a baby. He also had a nose. He'd often forget my face after I'd been gone for long stints of work and cry when I got home. Once he knew the distinctive shape of my nose, he recognized me right away. Louie still doesn't know what you look like, Olimar. I hit my head into one of the little openings. It was underwhelming. I love the whiplash of emotions that Louie has. Hold on to one of the nubs and swing to create a gentle breeze. Did I dream of becoming a glorified delivery man? Or was adventure always my true goal? Given my current circumstances. Who knows? I'm proud to say I've achieved both, but the president might see it differently. I'm worried about my annual bonus. Oh, let's go. No more puzzles. But I feel like food is going to be boring with Louie because it's just, oh yeah, it does taste like food. The scent is dangerously sweet and brings to mind concentrated memories of my wife's adorable smile. But one can't subsist on sweetness alone. You also need solid qualities like trust and patience. Having those is like a big, hearty breakfast for the soul. Opening the lid for a peek and fell straight in. I've never tasted better. Can be toasted, stuffed with all kinds of fillings, or slathered in jelly and jam. Not jelly, but jam. But it tastes best as is. This is an extremely dangerous food. Its light and airy appearance blaze a rich and indulgent interior. Before you finish one, you're already reaching for the next. Is it even possible to deny such temptation? And do I even want to? A nap in the pilot's seat sometimes. I nap in the pilot's seat sometimes. But a cushion like this would be a great alternative. The only weird part is that it's edible. Does that mean something, or someone could eat it right out from under you? That's a major drawback, especially with Louie. For eating, drinking, and napping, just set it on the ground, fill the pockets with juice, lay down, and enjoy. Slightly salty. Dip in something sweet to enhance the flavor. Its shape is mesmerizing. I only wish I could understand how it was sculpted. The more I think about it, the hungrier I get. Thankfully, the salty and sweet pillowy interior is as re-energizing as it is delicious. But then I start thinking again, and the cycle continues. There's nothing in the universe more interesting than the universe itself. A curious and inquisitive mind will never be satisfied, no matter how much you explore. I hope I feel this way as long as I can. It's important to stay interested in your work. Something as, like, philosophical as this from Olimar is gonna give us, like, nothing from Louie. I'll save this to drop in a hole sometime. Thank you, Louie. I like how round and smooth it is. I can't stop touching it. It's often said that you don't realize how much your parents have done for you until it's too late to thank them. I try to show my gratitude and keep in touch as much as I can with video calls. But as soon as my kids pop on screen, my parents forget I'm there. Sorry, Olimar. I know it's impossible to read minds, but I am particularly clueless when it comes to relationships. When we first started dating, my wife was gracious enough to explain how she felt in great detail. I'm still awkward, but any social skills I do have are thanks to her. I'd like to have a whole collection of balls like this. They'd look so nice all lined up. You put them in like a triangle. Fun to roll. Thank you, Louie. I've never minded having to start over or pick up my life at the flip of a switch. My environment and those in my social circles might change, but as long as I have my family with me, I'll still be me. They always call me out when I'm acting totally weird. I feel like that's his daughter saying that. Maybe sometimes his wife. It's become painfully obvious to me that the mind and body are closely linked. Spending so much time away from my family is hard on my mental health, and it's visibly taking a toll on my body. Even when I eat healthy and exercise, I really miss them. Makes the most exhilarating sound when it knocks into something. Would make a nice gift for Nana. She likes pretty things like this. It's just occurred to me that I haven't had a checkup in, I'm embarrassed to say how long. You're supposed to do it once a year, but I keep putting it off. Lately, my elbow's been making an odd clicking sound every time I move it. I should get it checked out eventually. Not next year, though. Too busy. Getting lost in space is as good as a death sentence, except it happened so many times, Olimar. I guess technically not lost if you know what planet you're on. The first time was lost, but... what was I talking about? The newest ships have technology that can locate the closest planet and initiate an emergency landing. Yet they still haven't built a navigation system that can detect and avoid incoming meteorites in space trash. Could I stand and balance on this ball, or would I just fall? I must find out. Just looks cool, but totally doesn't know it. The ball doesn't know it looks cool? It's easy to lose someone's trust despite the fact that it takes so long to build it in the first place. Once you have that trust and support, it's much easier to achieve your goals. I'd rather be able to count on someone I trust than leave it all up to chance. Almost done, right? Never consider myself to be someone with a lot of inner strength or fortitude, but my wife seems to disagree. I must be playing it way too cool when we're together. Looks lonely. This is the kind of ball that's at home in the middle of a crowd. I should draw the boss's face on this and roll it far, far away. This ball, all you really have to do is just make a little mustache between the red dots. This ball is meant to represent truth, but the truth is never truly black or white. It's both subjective and objective, and extremely tricky. I think the color gray would make more sense for this object, or maybe that hideous brown you get when you mix all the paint colors together. I thought about saying, speaking of paint, and taking the gamble that we would have gone into the paint, but thankfully I did not, because we are at strawberries now. The scene of this fruit, I'm sorry, I need like a minute. Let me just, okay. We're not halfway done. I guess I could just look at that sidebar and see that we have plenty to go still. Look at those strawberries. I mean, these are definitely more interesting than the, enemy ones, though, so I'm kind of into reading these. The scent of this fruit tickles my heart for some reason. It makes me think back on summer memories. My wife smiled at me in the sunlight. She'd probably have a good laugh if she ever read this, but that wouldn't be so bad. I happen to love that sound. Olimar, you're just so beautiful. I love you so much. Eat them as is or with a dollop of cream. The sweetest juice is concentrated at the tip. The balance between sweet and sour is almost addictive. I always want just one more bite. You will never be satisfied, Louie. We all know this. What a perplexing plant. It appears to be carrying two different types of berries. They must be a rare species of fruit. Both have odd traits. One seems to be a suppressant, while the other is a stimulant. It's not easy to tell which is which. I need a drink of water. I am not satisfied with that water. In my youth, I used to power through long night shifts by sucking on sour fruit candy. It somehow energized me and kept me wide awake. I couldn't do that now, even with the candy, but it's an example of how sometimes things turning sour can work out for the best. My face crunches up into a little prune every time I eat this fruit, just like Nana's does. Might be genetic. Oh, Louie. Yeah, her face was kind of iffy in the emails. Whenever I dig into one of these and it's full of big seeds, it feels like nature is pulling another classic bait and switch. Nature has pranked me. I've been pranked. When my first child was born, my wife and I would sit outside in the warm spring weather and take turns rocking him in our arms. Those days were filled with endless joy. The sunlight bouncing off his downy hair looked just like this. I kind of always assumed that the son was younger. I guess just from Pikmin 2, the way they talked about the daughter made her seem like she was like a teenager. The night after I ate this fruit, I had a dream. Yeah, that was sour. Oh no, that's seed. The joke. Oh, I'm already falling apart here. That was nature pulling a prank on Louie. The night after I ate this fruit, I had a dream in which I saw lots of them growing, clustered together on a tree. If I were able to grow and harvest that many, we'd never run out of food, and the Copites wouldn't starve to death. I suppose we won't know what's possible until I plant the first seeds. Perfect for the moments when all that will satisfy you is a mouthful of bitterness. I feel like that's almost philosophical, Louie, but you're talking about foods. Scoop out the flesh, and pour syrup into the shell to make a pool. Add fruit back into the syrup and marinate for at least an hour. Then dive into the sticky juices and devour. It's both a snack and a workout. Good job, Louie. Picking the right get-well-soon gift is notoriously tricky. You're supposed to choose something you think the recipient would enjoy and ignore your own preferences. That's easier said than done. When I can't think of anything good, I usually default to some sort of food, like this fruit. I know I'm always hungry when I'm sick. One whiff of this fruit will have your mouth watering, but the taste itself is sour and slightly disappointing. However, you can't let results like this keep you from trying new things. There's no greater quality than an adventurous spirit. Cut the fruit into small pieces and crush, squeezing out the juice. Add gelatin to the juice, pour into molds, and refrigerate for half a day. Remove jellies from mold and devour. To enjoy this fruit, all you need to do is take a big bite and let its sweet juices flood your taste buds. Extremely sweet, almost too sweet. The flavor makes you feel drowsy with joy, and you want to soak in those joyful juices forever and ever. I may need to limit my intake when it comes to this fruit. This fruit comes in bunches, so you can keep eating them and never run out. Single berry satisfies my appetite, but I'm grateful to live in a universe with such natural abundance. Don't waste your time peeling these. The texture of the fruit is soft and plump, but the skin adds a nice crunch. If eating these raw, you'll want to remove the skin to avoid a bitter aftertaste. To make a juice, leave skins on and mash the fruit with your feet. Great for working out pent-up aggression. Again, how would you crush that with your feet if you are the size of a grape? I've noticed that the skin contains a substance with antioxidant properties. That's probably why I feel so fresh and invigorated after I eat one. I wonder how I'd feel after eating two. Watermelon. Look at this fruit and I am instantly overcome by the urge to split it into a million pieces. I close my eyes to avoid the thought, but the impulse just got stronger. I must be holding on to a deep desire to take on and defeat a giant spherical obstacle. Sprinkle with a hint of salt to enhance its sweetness. Pull off juice pockets one by one and sip their contents. Macerate the remaining fruit with sugar and enjoy on top of ice cream or yogurt. Numerous pockets of juice clustered around a hollow interior, much like memories, both sweet and sour, that bursts with meaning yet still cannot fill that empty place in one's heart. Gazing upon this fruit always fills me with regret. Stop gazing, Olimar. You're making me cry. It seems to be a citrus lump, but younger and very green. An experience is usually perceived as a weakness, but its power should not be underestimated. Many an organization has been improved by a newcomer's creative and untamed energy. That newcomer was not Louie. Squeezing the juice over fish or meat if you want to diffuse their odor. Not just a snack, but a cleansing opportunity for your whole body. Try them dried for a chewy treat. While observing the plant bear fruit, I was unable to work out where and when the flowers bloomed. I was so frustrated that I couldn't figure out basic botany, but all those annoying feelings faded away as soon as I bit into the fruit's sweet flesh. This fruit reminds me of a particular sunset I witnessed years ago. My son and I were walking home together one evening and the sun was setting right across our path. I remember it like it was yesterday. It wasn't spectacular in the least, but I'll never forget it. It takes forever to ripen and only a few seconds to eat. One of life's greatest tragedies. Smells divine. Gently press the flesh near the stem to determine ripeness. If it's soft, then it's ready to eat. If it's still hard, then you'll have to exercise some patience. There's an elegance about this fruit. Its graceful curves and subtle flavor bring to mind images of ornate ballrooms, overflowing with cultured guests and blossoming flowers. The simple act of eating it makes me feel a little fancier. The thing that's bothering me right now is that we're just going through a bunch of food. It all kind of starts to blend together for me. This fruit has high water content and its skin is so thin that you can bite right through it. It'd be the most perfect snack to keep in your pack on a long hike through the desert if only it didn't bruise so easily. I consider this more of a drink than a fruit. This guy's delicacy. What are we on? Okay, one more like big chunk, and then we're done reading fruit. Fruit on this planet is astonishingly large. If we could cultivate these ample fruits on Hokatade, nobody would ever go hungry again. Sadly, I don't know anything about agriculture. Maybe I should have listened to my wife when she told me to do yard work. The black seeds are a delight and have a satisfying grainy mouthfeel, but I don't recommend eating the fuzzy exterior. It has fewer seeds and tastes a hint sweeter than its green counterpart. My wife went through a phase where all she talked about was Pikmin and its nutritious value. She charted Pikmin U percentages, and then there was A and P. I never really understood what she was talking about, but she was so passionate about it, I couldn't help but listen. I bet she'd really like to try this fruit. When I look at this, at the company president, I can't see myself climbing the corporate ladder. To be a manager, it seems like you also got to be an inhuman, heartless villain. These traits allow them to squeeze their dedicated workers without mercy and still sleep at night. I feel that same merciless cruelty radiating from this metallic altar. I wonder if it was once used for dark, unspeakable ceremonies, or perhaps it was once the desk of a corporate boss. We'll never know. Olimar, you and Louie should unionize. Used for extracting fruit juices, but could serve as a cup if necessary. Louie just actually knows what it is, and Olimar is getting a little weird with it. Don't throw away all that stringy white stuff. It's full of nutrients and adds excellent texture to a smoothie. This fruit is so shiny and round, it reminds me of a beach ball whenever I see it. Yet it's so yummy that I can't help but get cravings for it and end up eating it all the time. Only drawback is that I'm constantly disappointed that I'm not on vacation. The love between my wife and I has been captured in all sorts of romantic memories. As sweet and sour as this fruit, it's fun to return to those memories and feel that what I felt then. Sometimes I wonder how my kids will feel the first time they fall in love. Too sour to eat on its own, but squeeze the juice over fried chicken and add a refreshing hint of flavor. I still want to point out that anytime Louie mentions chicken, that implies that they have chicken. That chicken is like a creature that exists in Hokatade. Explain that one to me, game. Didn't want to retcon the chicken? I'm sorry, I'm getting delirious. Save the peel and use it to add a citrusy aroma to your bath. Drop it in the warm water and relax. Some people may like to peel this fruit from the top, but I prefer to attack it from the bottom instead. Whenever I go from the top, I get this tingly feeling around my belly button. I find it very unnerving. I also find that unnerving. What's going on with you, Olimar? What does that mean? The fruit could be hiding more than a tasty interior. There might be bugs in there. On more than a few occasions, I found bugs munching their way through the sweet flesh, presumably enjoying a snack of their own. How funny to think that I shared the same taste in fruit as a worm. Crispy yet juicy. Light yet hearty. Always check for worms before taking a big bite. If you find one, it's a sign of good luck. Do worms actually dig into apples? Like, you get that for, like, academia. Like, I say academia, like elementary school is academia. You get that, like, as a picture for, like, elementary school stuff. But, like, what? Like, when an apple falls off the tree, is that when the worms dig in kind of thing? Never really thought about that until now in my delirious state. Don't ask me how I know, but if you draw a face on this fruit, it bears an uncanny resemblance to Bounsweet, a Pokemon that my child actually loves. An uncanny resemblance to my wife wearing a hat. Don't ask me how I know. If it looks kind of like your wife, then that would be how you know. Even amidst the same stylish and judgmental aura. Funny how the doodled version of her is as intimidating as the real one. Peeling this fruit is a sure way to dye your fingers purple. and it'd be a while before they go back to normal. Mmm. Tastes rich and satisfying, so buttery you could almost confuse it with the real thing, almost. The hard, scaly shell that covers this fruit gets softer and darker as it ripens, so determining its optimal time to peel and eat can be difficult. It's as if the fruit is actively trying to sabotage your enjoyment of it. I've never known produce to be so sneaky. I always thought it was better to eat fruit when it's ripe, but this one is just as enjoyable and nutritious when it's green. The same can be said about... Sorry, did I read this one? Yeah, tasty. The same can be said about creatures like us. Many think maturity is superior, but inexperience and youth are what provides fresh perspectives. Packed with seeds, don't stare at them for too long or you might start to feel a bit dizzy. Okay, Louie. Good job, Louie. Sort of looks like a sea cucumber until you slice it open. Then you're basically staring at a starfish. Very philosophical, Louie. To look at a cross-section of this fruit, you'd think it was a drawing of a star, like one my son would make. Stars don't actually look like that, idiot. So why do we draw them this way? Maybe the secret to the universe is hidden within those 5 points? I mean, from a distance, you could probably say a star looks like that. I don't know why I'm, like, trying to explain what a star shape is like. Peeling this fruit is arduous due to its soft skin. When I tried to eat it without first removing the peel, a rash developed around my mouth. I had better success when I slit grid-like cuts into its skin and flipped it inside out. The results were delicious. Its meat has a subtle sweetness and it's almost creamy. If I close my eyes while eating it, I'm transported to a tropical locale. Ah, the taste of healthy yet unremarkable choices. I must confess, I once slipped and fell on a peel that I thoughtlessly discarded. Again, the peels are massive. I think I had this argument. I got heated about this last time we had bananas. Massive peels. How can you slip on that? Fell on a peel that I thoughtlessly discarded onto the floor after eating the fruit inside. I'm really too old to be making mistakes like that. I can even hear my own voice scolding me. Don't forget to clean up your trash. Throughout my life, I've met people who seemed flashy or fancy, but were actually quite down to earth. I've also met people who were as arrogant as they looked. The same lesson should be applied to this fruit. It looks pretty intimidating. What's on the inside? Apparently not a lot of people like the taste of dragon fruit. I guess I've never had just dragon fruit. I've had dragon fruit flavor that I thought tasted good. So maybe the people that don't like it are correct. Despite its intimidating exterior, the inside is surprisingly sweet. If you eat the red ones, you'll be in for a more colorful surprise when you relieve yourself the next day. Oh my! Well, now I really want to have dragon fruit. Oh, let's go. No more fruit talk. Can we get a round of applause for no more fruit talk? I don't know if there's more fruit later, but I'm happy for the break. I jumped on it and was engulfed by a cloud of white smoke. I've heard this mattress possesses miraculous relaxation properties that promises the most restless sleeper a good night of sleep. I was curious to know how this would affect me. You can literally sleep anywhere. Would I ever wake up again? Thankfully, I did. I just remembered there was wasn't there like a big thing of ham that we're gonna have to get to at some point? My beloved dog Bulby has the impressive ability to fall asleep anywhere he wants. We have that in common. This habit is also one of my wife's biggest pet peeves. Because of dog. Perhaps if Bulby had a designated bed, it would create a bit more harmony at home. This smells like soap. Maybe I wouldn't need to shower anymore if I slept on it. Useless for sleeping, its shape keeps making my mouth water, and I can never fall asleep hungry. Research has shown that sound waves created by a chirping bird are naturally comforting and induce sleep. Now, I don't have any strong preferences when it comes to bedding, but if this makes me feel like I'm sleeping on the forest floor, it could be worth a try. This thing reminds me of this one time I was fixing the hull of the SS Dolphin. The combination of the sun and zero gravity created an illusion. It was as if I was a fish floating in the open sea. But in fact, I was just me, floating in a sea of space debris. That's scarier, Olimar. I bit into this object while half asleep. It was completely devoid of flavor. I'm there we go, the ham. Alright, a little bit of food, but it's not fruit. And besides like this, I don't think there's any more vegetables. Okay. Well, at least it's divided. Like, it's not with all the fruit. Okay. I wasn't crying to myself a little bit there. I look forward to one day looking upon the face of my grandchild. If it's as cute as this one, I couldn't help but dote on them. But it doesn't really matter what they look like or if they resemble me or someone else in my family. I've always thought that grandchildren are meant to be spoiled. Cute hat, but makes it hard to see. Flip it upside down, crawl underneath, and you've got an instant fort. I used to know a guy who would never give in to his kids when they begged him for something. Yet one look from his grandkids and he'd give them anything they wanted. It seems that a grandchild possesses immense power of persuasion, or it's just magic. Children often exhibit both the positive and negative qualities of their parents. I think that's why we feel for them so much. What's more, we want them to keep improving and even exceed the expectations we set for ourselves. It's hard work being a kid. I'm fighting the urge to add nose hairs or a mustache. Oh, angry eyebrows. Do it, Louie. Do it. No balls. Louie, no balls. Do it. Probably used to take baths al fresco. The smell is quite soothing. I've worked hard so I wouldn't be a financial burden to my parents. I don't want my kids to be dependent on me when they grow up. Parents' job is to raise independent children, but not too independent. You still want them to come home for the holidays. As a parent, you need to be able to hide some emotions from your children. It's harder than you think. I remember telling my parents about my career goals and seeing the disappointment in their eyes. It hurt, but I'm glad it didn't pull me off my path. If I put this on my head, I look just like Nana. Walking on the rim of this object is a thrilling yet difficult challenge. Once you have children, money starts disappearing faster than you can save it. My wife always says, if it's for the children, it's worth it. I admire her enormous heart. Still, every year it seems like the children get more and more expensive. Big ham. Never expected to find such an appetizing cut of meat in a dark underground lair. Why was it there? How was it made? And is there a reason for its large size? I imagine it was an offering to some great figure. I shall pay my respects later as well. Big enough that no one will notice if I slice off a bit to sample the flavor. Perfect for dipping. The right sauce can bring out all kinds of unexpected flavors and aromatics. I'm not sure why you'd want to eat raw fish. Maybe cookery on this planet advanced so far they were able to recreate the essence of the original ingredients. It'd be easier to eat if I could cut it down into smaller pieces, but that might be insulting to the chef. I understand the white granular parts on the bottom to be fish eggs. One time, when I went fishing with my son, we caught a fish who was carrying eggs like these. It was a revelatory moment for him to see how life can differ from species to species. A more sophisticated palate will appreciate the notes of umami in the yellow sponge-like layer. An excellent palate cleanser puts you in the mood for a strong cup of tea. One of my favorite birthday gifts as a child was a book I received called 20,000 Millimeters Under the Sea. I like that. That's great. I believe I owe my adventurous spirit to that novel. How funny that a piece of seafood from a different planet could remind me of my childhood self. I can tell that it'd give me tons of power and stamina. I'm not athletic, but if I ate this whole thing, I'm sure I could work for 3 days straight without a wink of sleep. Now that I think about it, I don't want the president to hear about this and get any idea. An unpredictably culinary experience. It's up to the eater to decide which part to eat first. At first, I mistook it for a giant clam. My stomach growls every time I tap it. My taste in music is highly refined, but my wife and kids have no taste at all. For example, when I ask my family if they want to go out for karaoke, they twist their face and give me a nasty look. They don't know what they're missing. Sometimes I miss my carefree bachelor days. Once you have a family, those days are history. I like spending time with my wife, but sometimes I just want to be alone. Could it be a fruit? It looks like there's some kind of seed on the inside, but the husk is inedible. I'm awful at pronouncing inedible for some reason. Made the mistake of entering the golden bowl and ringing it from within. The noise was deafening. When I was a kid, I set off the alarm system at my primary school just to see what would happen. What a rebel Olimar used to be. As predicted, I was scolded, but I have no regrets. We are naturally curious creatures. Why else would we be here? Just to suffer? I still get the urge to set off alarms, but sadly I've gotten better at resisting those impulses. Despite its solemn appearance, the sound emitted by this object is airy and bright. It reminds me of the innocence and wonder that lives in the heart of a young child. It's important never to lose that sense of childlike wonder. I know I haven't. Beware, it's easy to get stuck when you climb up into it. Despite its appearance, this is not a chocolate bar. I repeat, not a chocolate bar. I chipped a tooth when I tried to bite through the foil wrapper. Usually you would unwrap it, Louie. Unpainted spaceships look a lot like this, shiny and ripe for adventure. As a kid, I would go down to the spaceship dock just to watch the ships being assembled. That's where I started to dream big. In reality, this is likely some kind of noisemaker. Based on its shape and where it was found, I have deduced this is a nest for some type of aquatic creature. On Hokotade, fish are known to use sunken buildings and objects like their own underwater apartments. I'm sure many a life flourished here. Put my face through one of the holes and smelled something odd. Can't wait to scare the boss with this thing. I want to gloss by the ocarina thing with Louie. I'm not sure my eardrums will ever recover from the thunderous noise emitted by this artifact. I can only imagine it playing a role in many a naughty child's practical jokes. If I had one of these as a kid, I'm sure I would have been a terror. Strange. Despite its calming tone, something about this melody makes my palms sweat and sends shivers up my spine. It's as if it's sending me a warning about unexpected troubles in the future. What does this mean? This would be the perfect musical accompaniment to a cup of fruit juice. Look, what? The future? I'm bothered by that. That really upsets me. There's a healing quality to this song, and I can't help but gravitate towards it. Perhaps this is a machine meant to lure prey for a stronger predator. This strong do have a disproportionate advantage on this planet. Wait, and does that make me the weaker prey? Oh no. Nana used to sing me a special lullaby to put me at ease. I would instantly fall asleep. This song is positively invigorating. I can't stop listening to it. My son is always playing some sort of adventure game. He becomes the hero, defeats the arch nemesis, and saves the day at last. I admire heroic figures like that, but if given a choice, I'd choose my own life again and again. This song is positively invigorating. I can't stop listening to it. I mean, I guess, like, I don't know. I guess Pikmin 3 technically could still happen if Pikmin 2 is a dream and this retcon Pikmin 1. Yeah, we're here. When I blow air into this rock, it makes the hair on my neck stick straight up. But if I blow a little bit harder, the sound becomes crackly and soft. It's so pathetic, I can't help but burst into a fit of giggles whenever I hear it. The sound this makes would wake even a deep sleeper like Nana. Reminds me of Nana. Wouldn't it be great if, like, all of Louie's are like, I'm hungry. Reminds me of Nana. I will ride this dog. This object rattles when you move it. It sounds quite similar to the frequency emitted by baby goods on my home planet. I imagine this would work in a pinch if you had a crying baby you needed to soothe. I wasn't surprised to discover this had been found inside a groovy longlegs deep underground. It certainly gives off the same vibes as a creature made of inorganic and organic materials. On a separate note, every time I look at it, I want to dance! So fun to jump up and down on it. When I looked through it from the bigger end, everything seemed tiny. I felt like a giant. I bet Louie would love to be a giant. He could eat everything. It's reminiscent of a telescope I had when I was a child. My father and I would stare up at the skies together and talk about our discoveries. That telescope nurtured my adventure spirit. I love to meet the adventurer who peeked into these lenses. I'm curious about something real quick. I guess there's really nothing you can look at to get a feel for the telescope-like nature of it. I was entranced by the longer needle as it spun around and round, and I completely lost track of time. This object doesn't strike me as otherworldly, but whenever I look at it, it's like I can feel the space-time continuum bending around me. The long, yeah, that actually is accurate to my time here. The long stick ticks along a lot faster than the short one. If I had to pick, I'd choose the laid-back one. I'm assuming that, because that's like accurate to the time on my computer, I'm assuming that my Switch is accurate as well. Could be useful for food storage, I just need to figure out how to open it. The arrow-like object floating in the center appears to move around at will, but it's actually always pointing in the same direction. Could be trying to point me towards my destiny, but I'd rather figure that out on my own. Everything looks so much bigger when you peer through this lens. You can see the smallest of details in all the different components that make up a single object. That's the proper way to conduct a scientific investigation. As fun as it is to make food appear larger, this object can't actually increase the amount. Very difficult and uncomfortable to ride, not like a dog at all. Why is it that a child's eyes always seem to light up at the sight of a train? I know I was like way into trains when I was a kid. My son was fascinated with them, and it was the first toy he ever wanted. I was the same way as a kid. Even now, I'm wishing I could hop on the train and go for a ride. Choo-choo! Long ago, railroads were the lifeblood of civilization, and the power to transport people or supplies remains key towards survival. Someone's gotta move the fuel, right? I like to think our company plays a similar role in space. It gives meaning to the daily grind, an enjoyable place to sit and play. Place your order on the right and pick it up on the left window. Beware, service is slow. What does that even mean, Louie? As a student, I once took a local train, a really slow one, on a journey to wherever it was going. I was the only passenger. The unchanging scenery stretched on and on. I felt like I was the only person in the world. Sounds a lot like space travel, huh? During my first job, my parents would meet me at the train station when I got home from work. I always thought I'd do the same thing for my kids, but it's usually them waiting at the station for me now. It always warms my heart, but I wish I could return the favor. Comfy digs. I wouldn't mind staying here for a while. The color makes me hungry for some delicious fruit. We're done with the fruit, Louie. They say that following the straight and narrow path is a virtue, but I'd learned firsthand that it doesn't always lead to your destination. When I started working directly under the president of Hokatade Freight, I thought it was the inevitable next step in my career. All it led to was piles and piles of paperwork. I'll be happy if my kids make a slightly twisted route in life as long as it helps them achieve their dreams. I always slow down on sharp curves, but sometimes I crave the occasional thrill of speed. Maybe if I floored the accelerator while the parking brake was engaged, it would satisfy my desires. Sometimes I look around and wonder if civilization isn't simply the result of us all trying to satisfy our desire, just enough to stay productive. I keep thinking next time I jump into one of those holes, I'm going to fall into my doom. Okay. Okay, Louie. Whatever you say, man. I got my head stuck in one of the gaps. My panicked screaming loosened it enough for me to get free. I can't imagine Louie actually screaming. But I also can imagine it being like incredibly loud and freaking out everyone in the vicinity. Took my son to the zoo a few years ago and he suddenly started crying. To calm him, I walked him back and forth on a path with no exhibits. We didn't see any animals that day, but I learned that sometimes the best solution is as simple as a change in direction. I would be annoyed if I didn't get to see the animals. The animals are the coolest part of the zoo. Don't you know, Olimar? That's the point! The animals! Some people think I don't like the concept of a set path or staying on the rails. That's not true at all. The only thing that matters to me is that I'm going to the right direction. How I get to my destination is irrelevant, much like the opinions of others. I'm unsettled by both the shape and the color. Shake it and you'll hear the unmistakable sound of money. So the idea is you put your hand in the mouth and pretend it's being devoured by whatever's inside this object. Maybe some people find that funny or even romantic, but it seems like a mediocre party gag to me. Yeah, until you tell a lie and it eats your frickin' hand. Monster teeth. I do not want to cross paths with the owner of these teeth. Well, they're probably dead, so I think you're good, Olimar. Of course, given the height of those molars, I'm guessing they're too big to have much in the way of physical agility. And that could work in my advantage, if we did encounter one another. I could just run in frantic circles until they eventually gave up. I wish I could eat all the big things that this big mouth could eat. I like to bury my face in the long, soft fur. I'm reminded of a toothbrush I used when I was a kid, always wanting to brush my own teeth, so when my mom finally gave up helping me, it was a sweet victory. Unfortunately, that's when I started to get cavities. Guess that's the price of independence. Brushing a child's teeth for them is hard work, made worse by the fact that they're oblivious to the perils of tooth decay. I stopped brushing our kids' teeth for a time so they could learn for themselves, but that idea did not go over too well with my wife. There's something soothing about the way it smells. Gave it a whiff, and all I got was a nose full of nostalgia. I look at this, and am instantly overcome by thoughts of my mother and all the mothers out there. They represent the power of nature itself, cocooning the universe in love and fortifying it with their strength since the dawn of time. This shape resembles a mammalian appendage. You don't want to say a nipple, Olimar? You were able to say sperm earlier. I'm getting very angry now. But I have no idea what it actually does. It's dripping with what can only be described as beast drool. See, that's always the weird thing, right? Is you want to question what the, if, like, humanity was gone, like, this is post-apocalyptic, but if it's dripping with drool, you can assume that that's just baby drool. Whatever. It's dripping with what can be described as beast drool. I'm hesitant to touch it, but I've got a duty to my mission, and maybe it won't be so bad if I close my eyes. This reminds me of my Nana. She used to feed me milk from this kind of thing. Perfect for catching critters, big and small. Just leave a little bait in there and see what happens. So is that why it was... Well, Louie wasn't in the big dog cave until he needed a new dog, so... I was gonna say, like, that's how Louie was getting stuff when he was hanging out. Bathtub we have at home is much smaller. If we had one like this, we could use it as a hot tub and relax together as a family. Then again, it's hard to unwind when surrounded by excited children, especially ones who like to splash you in the face. Let's go, we're getting the robot man. I need a moment, though. Hopefully, we're getting somewhere, but I need a moment. I took my moment. Probably isn't good enough, but we'll keep on hammering on. I was in awe of modular robots when I was growing up. Their strength and abilities impressed me to my core. I doubt anyone's ever admired me in such a way, but maybe that's not so bad. I find great satisfaction in being respected as an equal. The rotating action will work great for mincing garlic. How? What do you mean, Louie? Wonder how much this would sell for if reassembled. Once I got started on something, I'm the type that can't help but keep piling on more and more for myself to do. If that's considered hard work, then I guess I like hard work. The only problem is the result of hard work isn't always good work. It's crucial to believe that you are capable of success, but just because you believe it doesn't guarantee it will happen. Then again, if you don't believe it, you're unlikely to succeed at all. That's why you have to clench your fists and remain strong in the face of every challenge. For me, the ultimate success will be returning home to my family. I believe I can. Immediately when he brings up clenching fists, I just think of the Arthur meme. Perfect for tenderizing meat. They say peace and love go hand in hand. Neither seem to add much in terms of flavor. For me, love and protectiveness go hand in hand. I love it. Go hand in hand. When I think of my daughter, rambunctious, willful, a bright spark of joy, both feelings come forth at once. I'd do anything to keep her spark from fading the way mine has. If she reads this now, she'd say, "Lighten up, Dad. You're such a loser, Dad." I don't think she'd say that. Legs are some of the most important parts of a living organism. Not only are they used for walking and running, but that movement helps circulate blood through the body. Some even call legs the second heart. Wonder if my toes serve a second purpose as well. I've been looking for something like this for mashing potatoes. If I have a dominant hand, does that mean I have a dominant foot? If so, which one is it? Louie's over here on the shower thought subreddit. Many people don't realize that they not only have a dominant hand, but a dominant leg as well. Olimar over here spouting facts and logic. That leg can even be more muscular or longer than its non-dominant counterpart. That immediately brought to my thought the dude with the one muscle arm in Lady in the Water. Too big of an imbalance between the legs can have staggering effects. This is my favorite color. I love how it imbues passion and emotion into everything it touches. Come to think of it, the first Pikmin I encountered were red. Perhaps that's why I instinctively trusted them. Colors can influence behavior in all kinds of ways. I find this color unsettling. My whole mouth turned blue after one lick, and some other stuff kept coming out blue for the next few days. Some other stuff kept coming out blue? Louie, is that what you're saying? Probably won't eat it again, even if it is my favorite color. This color is very similar to that of the blue Pikmin. I prefer red. I like that that's like the first time Olimar's barely said anything. Heard that Pikmin of the same color were found in the same location. Could there be a correlation? Some creatures change their appearance to match their environment. I'd like to observe what happens to those Pikmin when exposed to other environments. Makes me think of my favorite yellow foods. Reminds me of the color of almost frozen lips. Brr. Found in a dark location. Luckily, it was just bright enough to be spotted in the vicinity of purple Pikmin. I've never associated purple with strength, but I've since had to revise my thinking. Discovered in an obscure locale alongside white Pikmin. I'll be honest, I don't remember where I found any of these. Apparently at Sub-Zero Sauna? Whatever. Discovered in an obscure location alongside white Pikmin. Creatures with bright colors are usually more likely to be packing poison, while creatures with dull coloration are generally harmless. This doesn't apply to white Pikmin. In fact, they're dangerously poisonous. No doubt they use this to their advantage. My teeth have been sparkling white ever since I used this to brush them. I wonder if it took care of my cavities too. The boss likes to wear this color. Guess it suits grown-ups. How old is Louie? This color reminds me of rock Pikmin. When I first touched one, I was surprised by how cold it felt. It was a pleasant sensation, and they didn't seem to mind my curiosity. Much like this treasure, rock Pikmin were found in a dark, chilly place. How appropriate. An attractive color, similar to that of the winged Pikmin that we found in this, that were found in its vicinity. It mystifies me how such helpless creatures have survived for so long. The bright colors make it so easy for predators to spot them. Needless to say, I find them to be particularly fascinating. I look like a ripe fruit when I cover my face with this stuff. It makes me even hungrier. At least Louie didn't cover his face with the rock Pikmin one. A look at this color and I think about ice cubes. It doesn't matter how many I eat, they never fill me up. This color reminds me of the ice emitted by the Sus Nivisvestis. What? Sus? Among Us reference? Nivisventus. Is it a coincidence I encountered this treasure and ice Pikmin in the same area? No coincidence that ice Pikmin are called that. If I looked one, I'm sure my tongue would stick to it. Now I'm picturing Louie running around with an ice Pikmin in his, tongue. The same color as a glow Pikmin that appears while exploring at night. Many think neon colors are artificial, but they're actually the result of certain materials reacting to short wavelengths of light. So really, they are quite natural and another example of how our perception can be unreliable. If I painted my whole body with this color, would I disappear forever or never get lost? The right hand is holding up a generous serving of soft-served ice cream. Chocolate, if I had to guess. The statue seems to be imbued with the majesty of an ancient goddess. When I look up at her, I can't help but be mesmerized by her beauty, till my neck starts throbbing in pain. It seems awfully intense for just looking up for too long. While looking at this statue, I found myself smiling and petting its head for no discernible reason. How can you reach its head, Olimar? You are smaller than it. It must possess a magical ability to captivate people and convince them to do its bidding. How can something so devious and manipulative be so cute? All I'm getting are greedy vibes. There's no way I'd win a staring contest against her. This looks a lot like a figurine my son learned about in school. I've always wondered why she wears goggles. What does she have to hide? Maybe a secret past with another ancient statue floating around out there. I look forward to discussing this theory with my son. Could I be related to this person who modeled... Could I be related to the person who modeled for the statue? While examining it earlier, I found myself striking the same pose without even realizing it. If we do share the same genes, how did they end up on this side of space? Deciding what to eat next is a quandary that will forever thwart the mind. As soon as it's resolved, it begins anew. Just a little curious. I was just wondering how, like, accurate. What manner of calamities had befallen the planet at the time this statue was created? Apocalyptic catastrophe, extreme weather, the wrath of the gods? This question, a starter fact like this inspires or what makes them truly valuable. This made a nice snack for someone. If there's a way to enjoy eating rocks, I would like to know how. The shape itself is familiar, but that's it. I've never been the type to give up. No matter how many times I fall, I'll always get back up again. At first I thought I could practice alongside this machine, but its stubby body reminds me too much of the president. One glance at it, and I lose all motivation to continue. I was gonna say, the president maybe is what Louie was thinking. It's just familiar. This bears a striking resemblance to something else. Looking upon this warrior's calming visage is a peaceful way to spend an hour. The eyes seem to see through everything as if their gaze is freeing you from the darkness of your mind. Perhaps I've stumbled upon the sacred key to life's greatest questions. I don't know what Louie's thinking of. Unless, now bear with me here, what if Mario, Luigi? Think about it. It's been a long time since I've been face to face with such beauty. I can feel my heartbeat in my eardrums. I'm kind of surprised that Louie even thinks something like that. Can't pinpoint the exact moment, but this reminds me of the face my wife once made when I delivered a perfectly executed dad joke. wait. I can see it. That is the face of like, you did try. You did try, Olimar. What mysterious and fluffy creatures. I can't find evidence of them in any of the existing creature databases, but there's something familiar about them. It's almost as if I've met them before. Guess I'll chalk it up to an ancient memory that's been imprinted on my genome. I like to take a ride on either of these creatures. I licked the smaller end and it was a little bit salty. The rest was pretty unappetizing. Quantified the warmth in your heart. What a brilliant idea. The next time there's a mix-up between my wife and me, I can just show her the numerical value of my feelings for her. Then we could use it on her, and actually that part might backfire. Tasks in space requires accurate timing. Docking a spaceship is a good example of that. The monitors on my ship were to break. I need to measure time using my instincts alone. This is the perfect tool to help me develop an accurate sense of timing. Could be handy to have when collecting fruit and you're too tired to keep count. I'm not sure if I'm using this thing correctly. It looks like it has buttons, but they can't be pushed. I may be able to embed this on the wall of my ship's computer room. It could be useful for making manual calculations should the ship's AI ever crash unexpectedly. Space pilots need to be prepared for an emergency, and I'll take all the help I can get. Can it really do math? No action available. Why do I bother? This is an extremely sturdy calculator. I never thought sturdiness was a necessary quality for a calculator, but I do recall my wife recalculating our monthly budgets multiple times after shopping trips with extreme vigor, and the calculators I've used for both life and work do have a tendency to get thrown around. Guess the craftsmanship on this planet had the right idea. It's a nice place to lay and think about the day. The adjustable pads mold to your body shape. The head and tails have the same flavor and texture, tastes like fish. Strange life form that mimics an octopus. Would have discovered other creatures that use mimicry, but in this case, it's fairly unconvincing. I'm not even sure it is a life form. I intend to dissect it and investigate further, but first I will try one tiny bite. I would kind of love it. I know, like, video game-wise, it would be kind of bad if they just miscategorized this as a creature in the Piklopedia instead of the treasure. It'd be kind of neat. It's disturbing to see a mouth that can be removed like a cap. If it were reattached improperly, would the bodily fluid simply pour right out? I remember when I supposedly airtight container of mine once failed, my bag smelled like onion soup for a week. Just one splash of the creature's liquefied innards improved the flavor of any dish. I'll never leave home without it. Only took one bite of charred space newt to straighten Nana's bad back. I wonder what medical properties this might have. Fossils excavated at the beach. From its shape, I can deduce that it was cast by an aquatic creature. That could indicate that the current site of the beach was once the ocean floor. Alright, Olimar. Got ourselves a little bit of a helix fossil and a little bit of a dome fossil. Discovered along a mountain stream, its shape reminds me of a type of footwear used when moving through shallow waters. Perhaps this creature mimicked the shoe prints of this planet's inhabitants as a way to hide in plain sight and steal their food. Excellent tool for mashing and grating fruit. Cold to the touch, but fun to climb. The spear looks like a rocket from the early days of space exploration. It may even conceal some kind of high propulsion force within, but I hope it has a more romantic history in that it protected explorers as they sailed through space, pursuing their dreams. Ah, my little girl has always been the princess of our household. If there was a miniature version of this, I'd love to present it to her as her own personal fork. I can imagine it now. She'd be so ecstatic, swinging it all around, wreaking havoc, scaring the dog. Never mind, I think our little princess is a tad too spirited for a gift like this. She might kill the dog with that, honestly. If two people work together, they could use it to drop fruit from a considerable height. Thinking of all the hard-shelled snacks I could open with this thing. Careful, this tool is very sharp. Its original owner must have wanted to pierce or crack things open at any cost. As a lover and preserver of unique objects, I'm not quite sure I understand the purpose of value of an item such as this. Alright, well, at least the Nintendo stuff is going to be fun. During a slow day at work, I like to play this game when I use zero gravity to float toy rockets in front of a ship's window. Then I act out scenes from my favorite childhood TV show and pretend there is a galactic war going on in the distance. I should probably edit these notes before the president asks to review them. I jumped out of my skin the first time the display lit up. Ooh, it's so shiny I can't decide if I'm drawn to it or if I should run in the other direction. This might be a tool for warding off predators. Perhaps if I attached it to my back, the creatures of this planet would be deterred from chasing me. I could test this theory on the Pikmin. Of course, they might end up carrying me instead. Treasure and all. I like pressing the different directions of the mathematical symbol. There's something captivating about the two round buttons. I can't help but want to push them over and over as fast as I can. I don't care. I don't want to break them, but I don't want to stop either. Nothing and no one tells me what to eat. What? What are you saying, Louie? Why did you say that? I've been looking for a tray like this to use at mealtime. It looks pretty easy to carry too. No more meals will be lost to this poorly placed wall. I want to point out, this weighed 5. 5 Pikmin were needed to carry this, but with my super strength, I can only do like 1 Pikmin worth of carrying. So either my character is super weak, or like, I can't imagine you using that as a tray, Louie. How interesting that the artist used a black plank as a canvas and how they chose to depict the pilot. They look like the type that works hard for their beloved family. Though the design of the spaceship is all wrong. Good luck flying that thing through a narrow meteor crevice. Crevices. It's a bit unusual to call something a masterpiece before you read it, but I've got a good feeling about this one. I think it's meant for children. But is it about a boy or a girl? Hopefully both. It's been hard to please everyone in the audience at bedtime lately. The color of this thing reminds me of a really delicious fruit. It makes for a great back massager. This machine is equipped with an advanced vibration feature. The vibrations seem to be communicating in a vacuum, perhaps trying to reach out to its corresponding system, which has likely been lost to time. Who knows what the machine is trying to say, but it's telling me something about the sadness of abandoned technology. Did you know how great the Switch's vibration feature is? You can test it out with the hit game 1-2 Switch now. Sharing is one of civilization's most important virtues. We share food, shelter, stories, and sometimes even checks. I can only hope the belief is also held by the president of our company. I'd like him to share in the form of a holiday bonus this year. Look at all those buttons and a rotating nub thing. I'm not letting anyone else touch this. It's mine. There's a ball hiding inside this thing for some reason. Take it out and you can't roll it anymore. I don't have a creative cell in my body, but my daughter somehow avoided this genetic deficiency. When she's drawing, she becomes so absorbed by her art, it's as if she can't hear a word I say. That, or she's just ignoring me. I have no idea if what she draws is any good, but the ability to focus on something so deeply is talent enough. Either way, her future is bright. Space is a funny place. You can be using the latest in galaxy navigation technology and still find yourself lost in a sea of space trash. Well, that's life, isn't it? If you want to advance SP, you've got to be flexible. This also applies to settling marital disagreements. It opens and then it closes. That's pretty fun. I see it has 2 rotating nubs, but it's unclear which one I should play with. Both, Louie. Both. Should have seen the winged aspect, but mostly this reminds me of a model spaceship I played with as a kid. The overall design is perfect for transcending all kinds of atmospheric barriers, plus it looks so cool. Okay, yeah, we finished Nintendo. No Rob this time. What your eyes might see is not an exact representation of reality. We can only see one part of the world within a narrow range of visible light. This magnificent device proves that theory. I'd love to show it to my kids one day. It would boggle their minds. These would enhance any video game experience. It didn't, Louie. It really didn't. 3D was not worth it. I climbed on top of the knobs. The middle one was the most comfortable. I'm picky when it comes to music, but I'm fascinated by how a melody can perfectly capture a person's soul or even a specific feeling. I wonder what my song would be. Probably like shoegaze or something, Olimar. I'd like to think it would sound bold and romantic and reflect my adventurous career. Maybe I should just write it myself. The ability to say, I need to know what Louie has to say about this. The ability to say balance is critical to exploration and space travel. It is okay to lose your balance as long as you can regain it right away. This tool is perfect for strengthening that skill. The only problem is I can't get it to move forward when I'm on my back. Wee, so fun to ride. Yeah, Louie's a skater boy. Oddly difficult to see through. I have no idea what's in front of me. These shutters make it difficult to see clearly ahead, so I'm not sure why they'd be found in a dark cave, and it's not as if they could even be used as a proper hiding place. They remind me of playing hide and seek with my kids and pretending not to see them. Okay, we're back to vegetables. We're back to vegetables. Well, not back. This is, I think, the only vegetables. Everything else was fruit before, but... back to food, I guess, is the main issue. This tasty red snack isn't quite a fruit, but it doesn't seem like a vegetable either. I've analyzed it extensively, and whenever I think I've settled the matter, I discovered something new that calls it all into question. This is why I'm not a scientist by trade. Exquisite balance of sweet and sour. The umami flavor almost doubles when cooked with meat. Yummy, but not very filling. When I was a student, a girl in my class asked me to go shopping with her. It would have been rude to refuse, so I went. My friends kept hassling me, saying it was a date. It was so embarrassing, but come to think of it, my wife asked me out soon after that. I wonder if she was jealous. Haha. Good one, Olimar. You got her. You snagged her. This plant grows so fast it reminds me of my own children. One day they are little babies in my arms. The next day they've sprouted up into fully fledged people. I have my wife to thank for that. She does so much while I'm so frequently away for work. Again, it's been 2 months. These delights grow fast, but not faster than I can eat them. I'd be happy to prove it. Stir fry over medium heat to get that melty inside and crunchy exterior. Once saw a prototype of a spaceship shaped a lot like this. Unfortunately, it didn't fly straight, it just spun around in place. Examples like that are why I prefer a more traditional approach. Being original for the sake of originality is usually a waste of time. During my explorations, found vegetables like this. Never seen anything like them. This dark-dwelling vegetable stores all of its nutritional energy in its roots. In the name that it's been given, Child of the Earth, is very fitting. Once upon a time, Olimar gave it that name. Snoz. When left unattended, its leftovers will begin to sprout. I might try burying it underground to see if it takes root. Bake in a hot oven until you can pierce the middle with a fork. Slather with butter while still warm. When my son was born, I was almost immediately worried about him. But it was different for my daughter. I sensed from the start that she was strong-willed and sturdy. A sweeter version of her mother. This Daughter of the Earth reminds me of her, because it's called Daughter of the Earth. Large. And the size is right for retrofitting into some sort of vehicle. Maybe a carriage? But then what do you do with all the goopy insides? Flippantly throw them out the window as you roll away in your fancy new transport? Never. I am vehemently opposed to wasting food. Scoop out the flesh and bake to elicit a fruity, sweet flavor. Crack open the shell to snack on the crunchy nuts inside. Don't forget to drink. These make you thirsty. Don't need any special tool to break open the shell, and the fruit inside is edible. Cracking these open is so satisfying that I find myself getting carried away and opening more than I could possibly eat. Note to self, work on moderation. I can't imagine. Again, about the same size as they are, how can you not need a tool to open those? The shape of this fruit looks a lot like my grandpa's face. It's so similar that if I were to name it, I'd call it a grandpa's face fruit. My wife always thought my taste in names was catastrophically bad, which is why she named both our children. But I think this one has a certain ring to it. Can't be grilled or sauteed, but I like it best when eaten raw. Hey, now there's no food left. Shimmers and sparkles in the sunlight, it's bewitching. The first time I rode in a spaceship, I was a student working part-time for an interspace transportation company. The excitement I felt during that first launch was unforgettable. The iconic rocket engraved on this shield reminds me of that moment. When I was a little child, I'd look at pictures of the planets and imagine that the rings around them were roads you could travel on. Of course, once I got to space, I learned that those rings are usually made up of dust particles. I've never been more disappointed. A jelly donut on the verge of exploding. That's right, Louie. Comfortable spot for a quick nap. Someone told me that when a satellite is decommissioned, some of its lights will start to blink spontaneously as it falls through the atmosphere. It's likely a glitch, but I'd like to believe the satellite's sending one last message before burning up into nothing. It's saying, please save me, I'm dying. The figure on this shield is wearing something quite similar to our spacesuits. Though I mean these living beings must have looked something like us. Wonder who they were and what their faces looked like. Could they have been our ancestors who migrated through space to our planet long ago? The mouth is huge and trying to eat something. Floating cookies, I think. Could be easily mistaken for some kind of jewel and sold for a hefty sum. I'd like to find more of these. I've encountered comets and meteors on the job, and collisions are bound to happen. I once had to make a crash landing for that very reason. I like to look back on those events as unexpected adventures, but at the time, they're pretty harrowing. Gotta go through all these sword colors. Even though it's awkward to handle, I assume it's a weapon of some kind. I like how lightweight and user-friendly it is, but I'm not sure how effective it would be against most threats. Either way, it's a lot of fun to play with. I like the way it looks when it's plunged into a fruit. Looks a lot like grass. Must have been pretty hard to see this sword in the forest, as it would have blended in with the foliage. Applying apathetic coloration to a weapon is more than just practical, it's brilliant. I'm always amazed at the creative solutions that float around in the minds of others. It's like in the Fate Stay series when... I'm gonna stop talking, because I need to get through this. I visited a few icebound planets while delivering cargo through space. Based on my experience, I find it hard to believe this material could withstand such severe environments. I think it's likely this subject was used for another purpose. It's fun to stab fruits with this thing. He just likes stabbing fruits, I guess. Interesting color. I'll never have to use a fork again. My son used to have a toy sword in a similar color. He was obsessed with it and brought that sword everywhere he went, including the dinner table. That is, until I explained that it was dishonorable for a hero to attack a weaker citizen wielding only a fork. With all these different colored swords, I assume that the armies on this planet color-coded their troops. The entire unit with matching weapons and uniforms would have been a sight to behold. I'm sure this color especially stood out. When a shaft of sunlight hits the handle just so, its beauty overwhelms me, and it's like I've been transported into a painting. That's a lot for Louie to say. Thought I'd take it out on the water, but it sank as soon as I board it. They say it's possible to float this unfloatable boat with the help of divine intervention. That sounds a lot like luck to me. I've had my fair share of bad luck, but at least I've been fortunate enough to survive. Anyhow, my chances don't look so good. Maybe divine intervention is just having the blue Pikmin carry it through water while you stand on top of it. I'm much more used to seeing fish painted in profile instead of front and top down. I suspect this is supposed to float on the water, but I'd be quite startled to encounter a fish like this under normal circumstances. This fish is too hard to chew, inedible. My eyes, they can't stop spinning, so fun. The movement of the universe always seems slow to me, but it's a matter of perspective. Maybe the movement of this object is how a higher power perceives it. We're all so small in the grand scheme, I get dizzy thinking about the epic scale of space, or is it just a space spinner? I needed that. Attaching an intangible wish to a tangible object seems to be a universal habit. I wish for my family's happiness, but haven't quite found the right talisman to attach to it. My family must be wishing for my safe return. I hope they have better luck. Not the most comfortable bird to ride, but I like its color. I was disappointed to learn that it can't fly. Shame. This bird reminds me of a mythical creature famous for granting immortality to those brave enough to seek it out. I have no interest in living forever, or maybe the idea of risking my life for the sole purpose of avoiding death just sounds a bit wonky to me. Why not enjoy the time you have while you have it? Anyway, this is a nice shade of red. I don't know, I think it's kind of cool to like risk your life to give yourself more. There's something there. To have a charm that's solely devoted to financial luck comes off as vulgar and gives me an icky feeling. On the other hand, money is a necessity, and that's an inescapable fact. Well, there is no one escape, more money. Wouldn't that be nice to have a bit more? Maybe we could sell this for a profit. I bit into it, thinking it was a fruit. Sadly, it's not. I'm deeply moved when I imagine ancient peoples entrusting this small, smooth ball with their hopes and dreams. Undertale reference. I think I made that joke before already. Then passing it down through the ages. It'd be a comfort to know that my dreams won't die with me, but will somehow transcend time. I'm so bemused by the idea of catching a dream, but it's difficult to achieve in practice. I still haven't been able to catch the ball with the spike upright. Perhaps I need to try an easier angle, but would that diminish the challenge and thus the quality of the dream? You may be able to poke something with the spiky part. The sound of it getting crumpled up sends shivers up my spine in a good way. Louie getting some ASMR from the divine balloon. Don't worry too much if it deflates. Simply pump more air into the top hole and the original shape is restored. The material, though paper thin, seems to repel water. Such an inspired creation, only the most advanced civilization could conceive such a work of art. It's like a metaphor for both the fragility and durability of life itself. Okay, the cards. It's this collection and one more, and then we're done. We're almost there. I believe. Once had a trump card, a premium license given only to first-rate space navigation officers that allows you to bypass the arduous license renewal process. But I'm sure I lost that qualification with the recent accident. Guess it's back to annual visits to the license renewal planet on the edge of space. The lines are always so long. It's like specifically a planet that has to do this. I've always wanted to play the trumpet. I like the look of this character. It seems like a fun companion. The Joker. Yeah, that Louie's a Joker, alright. And a devil. It even was in his dream house. Does true evil really exist? I am standing right next to Louie. Can't say for sure, but I have been seeing a smile like this before. It often graces the face of the president of Hokotate Freight. Usually when he's asking me to work overtime. Unpaid. So I guess I can confirm that true evil exists. And the president seemed like such a nice guy. I'm sad to hear that he is a bad boss. Some might look at this and see a symbol of life, but this treasure better represents courage. The two are closely related, of course. Power and wisdom also have roles to play. But without the courage to take that first step, your journey cannot begin. The symbols remind me of mock bottoms. I'm hungry again. All I see are empty plates in need of some food. There's a physical power, and then there's mental power. Anyone who witnesses an argument between me and my wife could clearly see who's quicker on their feet in the heat of the moment. The thrill of the fight. That doesn't bother me so much. I just wish I had the same fortitude and wit to stand up to the president. Possessing wisdom isn't always a good thing. Sure, you can examine a subject from multiple angles, but you can also get stuck in a maze of thought. Am I envious of people who can just act on instinct without overthinking every little detail? Last detail? Let's see. I don't. Maybe. Works well for a makeshift fan and even features a picture of a salad. Also fans my appetite. It's a really small salad. Got a lot of sweet fruits that looks like the one shown here. My travels through space and my time spent observing various life forms have taught me anything. It's that love can take many forms. Some creatures get the nutrition they need to grow their eggs by eating their mates. Well, that's an extreme example, and I hope that doesn't happen with me and my wife. The love I feel for my family and the passion I have for my work are so very important to me. But so is money. Love and passion are all well and good, but you can't appreciate any of it if you go hungry. You'll go hungry in the universe without money. A collection of jewels such as this would sell for a lot of cash. Looks like a veritable garden of crunchy sandwich fillings. In my line of work, it's crucial to stay on top of your to-do lists. When things are busy, it's easy to get sloppy and let things slide, but that's when consistency matters most. There's nothing like that rush of joyful relief you feel when crossing off a task. Gold nuggets. How many of these did we end up collecting? 470. Let's go. We're so close to being done, guys. What can I... No, I don't care about you at all. Snoz, go away. Appears to have the same composition as the gold on my planet. I've heard that some heavy elements like gold are created during rare collisions between neutron stars. But to think the same element exists on a faraway planet reminds me, space is so vast. When I see this, all I want is more. Only useful when deciding between 12 or less options for your next meal. I've lived through some harrowing events, and the trick to surviving in space is to prepare for every possible situation. But this is technically and literally impossible. Sometimes you just need to roll the dice, hope for the best, and let the universe do its thing. Having to choose 1 out of 20 possible scenarios during a voyage through space would be an object lesson in randomness. And very unfortunate. On a minuscule chance it should ever occur, the only solution would be to throw up your hands and laugh. Fun to watch because it rolls so well. I'm not sure which is luckier, 1 or 6. When I gaze at this stone, I can feel my fate being forecasted. It must know what's going to happen to me. I'm sure it sees that I'll be hailed as a brilliant visionary and brave explorer when I return to Hokotate. I like how he's like, he said something about how he doesn't really believe in like fortune telling stuff, but then he's like, no, this one's got it. This one knows what's up. While exploring, I'm often faced with the difficult question, which way do I go? North, south, east, or west? A tool like this could be useful in those moments. Of course, one roll would be too random. It'd be best to roll it 100 times and take the average results. If you want to, climb at your own risk. The bird looks like it has a lot of meat on its bones. I hope no one... I hope no one. Like, I'm really not even reading these properly now. I'm sure I just sound like I'm rambling at this point. I hope to one day celebrate a high-numbered birthday. But I don't think there will be any large birds in attendance at the party. You don't know, Olimar. You don't know what Pikmin 5 has to offer. Just think of how much trouble they could cause. If space has taught me anything, it's to plan for the worst-case scenario. Springtime always reminds me of the day I moved out of my parents' house. At first, everything was fresh and exciting, but I quickly realized that life on my own was a lot harder than I expected. I also realized I should thank my parents for all they've done for me. Puts me in the mood for snacking. White and round, I'd eat it. When my son was little, he thought the moon was just a powdered donut in the sky. He would cry and cry, "I want to eat the moon!" Apparently, I was the same way. These days, he loves to look at the moon through a telescope. Guess the apple doesn't fall far. Hey, Olimar! What's an apple? Moving on. I love rainy days. They're the perfect time to catch up on paperwork, relax a bit, and dream about my next big adventure. That is, if I have any energy left after entertaining my kids, who can't go outside to play when it's wet. I'll take what I can get. Reminds me of the time I lost my lunch after drinking some rainwater. It has to be some nasty rainwater. I bet this piece would sell for a lot of money. Maybe this object would help increase productivity at Hokotade Freight. Toward a better spaceship. Maybe it's my fault. If I stopped miraculously surviving such dangerous situations, the President might realize we need to upgrade our equipment. Again, though, this, like, implies that Olimar's been in a couple of crashes when this is, like, the first one. And it may not be his first real crash, but Pikmin crash. We did it! That was it! I didn't... No, I did. Louie's was, like, about how it could be rich, right? It's over. Now, yeah, I did not read about... Didn't read about all of the, Picklepedia guys. And I won't. Can I help? I can't help too good. But that's it. We're done with the Pikmin forever now. I've said what I've said about it. It's good. I like it a lot. I have some problems with it, but the problems aren't enough to, like, ruin the experience or anything. But now I can rest.